With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the PRL as season finale week continues with the GR86 series and the LMP3-GT4 challenge set to crown 3 more champions here this evening. A total of 8 drivers have the opportunity to call themselves PRL champions at the end of tonight, with 2 of them only needing to complete their respective races to get that crown themselves. In the GR86 series, it's Alexis Moisan who's currently leading the way and at the moment looking for that 10th win in so far what has been a perfect season for him. Welcome to Road America, welcome to RaceSpotTV. My name is Ian O'Leary alongside Joey Tebbin here for the finale of this GR86 series. We've been to America quite a few times over the course of the GR86 series so far, and we're visiting one last time here at Road America for tonight's race. Welcome in, Joey. Good to have you alongside me once again. We saw a brilliant race at Watkins Glen. It was quite fantastic, and a lot of the drivers are expecting something similar from tonight.
They are, and if you look back at the last 9 weeks, you see a lot of diversity in the schedule. You see road course pack racing with the 2 Monza races. You see some tight and twisty tracks like the Phoenix road course in mid-Ohio. You see a lot of different tracks. We didn't see a lot of different winners, though. 9 out of 9 races so far this season won by the same guy, Alexis Moisan. That's only been done twice before in history, somebody winning every single race in the season. And in this last round at Road America, that's the only thing that everybody else in the field wants to do. They want to break that streak. They want to make sure that Alexis Moisan doesn't go down in any more history than he needs.
He's already made history by winning the most amount of races in one season in a GR86 or MX-5 car, by the way, so looking to add to that little bit of history with the 51-point advantage that he currently has. There it is, with Andrew Sharp just behind. They are the only 2 in contention. Jeremy Schneider and Graham Willman are going to be ones to watch, though, because they're fighting for 3rd in the standings. Kevin Berkvist, Patrick Reed and Edward Peltzer fighting for 5th place, arguably, with Rafael Franco in 8th, ahead of Ian Cabana and Nathan Miller rounding out the top 10. And in the Teams Championship, we're all pretty much done here with Bump Draft to victory. 160 points ahead of Bomb Bomb Racing. Then there's Crikey Esports in 3rd. Dark Room and Vulture Motorsports, who are not far in front of Precision Racing Esports and Team Huntingdon, rounding out the 7 teams there. That has been complete for quite some time. Now, as we go forward to Road America, it's a very overcast day by the looks of things. You can see the blimp in the sky. Not much sun in the sky today, though. At the moment, it's still Andrew Sharp who leads the way in this session with just under 6 minutes remaining. And Alexis Moisan, who's just in that 2nd position right now. We'll skip forward to that qualifying session very shortly. But there's the view across this very, very flat open ground that you have here at Road America. Before we go any further, though, let's thank you our sponsors just one last time before we get the final race of the season underway, starting with Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid to high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Use or visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. The Bookkicker products add incredible emotion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Mechasim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake or sequential shifter, visit Mechasim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. And finally, Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments of your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. Well, a big thank you to all of those who have made these broadcasts possible here all season on RaceSpotTV here in Season 3. And a big thank you to those who have watched throughout as well, because it's been great to have you along all season long. This is the finale though. All good things must come to an end, and the GR86 series unfortunately is. And this really does feel like a farewell, Joey, because unlike the LMP3 and GT4 series, which will be returning next season, this series unfortunately won't. So it really does feel like we're bidding a series farewell, which of course we are here tonight with one last race at Road America, and hopefully it's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know if you have this phrase in your neck of the world, Ewan, but sometimes we say when you're getting rid of something, you 86 it. So how ironic that we're getting rid of the GR86 series. We're 86ing the GR86 series, but it's for a very good reason. It's because people have been clamoring and clambering for high-level prototypes to come back to the PRL for many, many seasons, and with the addition of all the GTPs that have recently been added, with the Cadillac, with the BMW, with the Porsche upcoming, they finally said, you know what, it's time to have a prototype series in the PRL again. So Monday nights will be the LMP3-GT4 challenge to start off. That'll be back, and then we move into the Rocket Ship series, as our producer Dustin Allis likes to call it, with LMP2 and GTP. It's going to be very, very exciting on Monday nights. With losing these GR86s, that'll be unfortunate, but hopefully we can have one more great show to throw these things out of the window.
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right, by the way. I've never heard of 86ing anything.
It's like a restaurant term. If you're in the diner, it's like if you got a steak, you got to take the steak off the menu. 86 it, 86 the steak, take it off.
But what on earth does that number have to do with anything?
I think it's like a military term, maybe. But
okay,
I got to check the etymology. I got to ask Susie Dent.
Very good reference. Yes, another week of Joey educating me on American things, or just generally people educating me on American things on PRL broadcast, which is absolutely fine, by the way. Hello to Edward Peltz in the YouTube chat, by the way, because he's on holiday at the moment, but watching us nevertheless. So I hope he's enjoying himself. Yeah, he bid his farewell to this series last week. Unfortunately, we just didn't know it last week at Watkins Glen, but good to see he's tuned in nevertheless, as we're on board with Craig Wilburn at the moment in 4th place. He won't be improving on this lap. He's just over a second back from Andrew Sharp, and with a minute 30 remaining, he won't be improving there either. Trying to look for anyone who will be improving here, Joe. It won't be Alexis Moistan, and for the second time this season, he won't be on pole position.
Yeah, that's big. That's huge. Andrew Sharp at the sharp end of the field for the second time. He got pole at Jerez a couple of weeks ago. Didn't win the race, though. He did get passed by Moissan eventually after the pit stop cycle, I believe. But Andrew Sharp was mere corners away from winning that Watkins Glen race last week. If one thing went differently on the final lap, he had a great shot at ending Alexis Moisan's winning streak. So he could very well do the same thing here at Road America. It's a similar track to Watkins Glen in a lot of ways. Lots of long straights where these GR86s stay close together. And it's definitely a place where Andrew Sharp has a lot of experience. So this could be the place where Moisan's streak ends right as it's about to finish. And Andrew Sharp wants to make sure that Alexis Moisan isn't going to have a season like a wave file. He doesn't want him to be lossless.
Yes, we've been trying to think of the best way to say this, but I guess it's 100% win record or whatever, but that's a bit long. We've gone with lossless. A bit of a technological joke. A perfect season? Yeah, that's a good shout, actually.
That's boring. Perfect.
It makes more sense, doesn't it? But,
why is the word winless so satisfying? And there's no option. Undefeated, I guess, is good.
Yeah, they're undefeated, I suppose. Everyone else has had a winless season, I guess, as well. Nobody having taken a win other than Alexis Moisan. Of course, he did take his debut win in GR86 racing as well with this season, and he's just not stopped ever since taking that first win of the season all the way back, what will have been 10, 11 weeks ago now, because we did have a week off throughout the middle. But he won't be on pole for the finale, and it will be a miracle for Kevin Bergqvist to get on pole here as well. He's the driver you're watching here in the dark purple and the orange, one of the nicer liveries on the grid. It's going to be a bit of a miracle for him to improve, actually, because he's over a second and a half behind Graham Wellman, who's in 4th place. Bergqvist in 5th, ever so slightly in front of Patrick Reed and Matthew Servick, who we didn't see a lot of last week, but did have a decent run. And Tom Stevens, who has apparently entered in the session, but I haven't seen him drive yet in this qualifying session. He certainly hasn't set a time, so hope that he will get out there and make it 8 for the finale here in the GR86 series. Kevin Bergqvist makes his way up towards the line, though. Is there going to be a late improvement from him? Not that it will really matter. He won't improve to 4th place, but he does improve slightly.
Nice.
Just over 2 seconds away in 5th place. So we'll see what he can do, but I think we can separate these drivers into 2 groups, really, Joey. The top 4 and then the rest fighting for 5th place. It's going to be Andrew Sharp who's going to be fighting for the win, of course, as he did last week alongside Alexis Moisan. Jeremy Snyder, along with the Bump Draft to Victory team, will be helping, you'd imagine. Graham Wellman will look to get involved in a race that he didn't quite do last week. He couldn't quite stay with the leaders. Maybe he will today. Kevin Bergqvist, with that late improvement, cements 5th place ahead of Patrick Reed. And then in 7th place, it's Matthew Servick and Tom Stevens should be lining up alongside him in the Pizza Hut car, which looks quite nice. Let's see if he gets out onto the grid. We certainly hope so. It does seem, though, like we are going to see 2 groups emerging. The battle for the win should be an interesting one. Going to be interesting to see whether Graham Wellman can add himself, though, to those front 3 who were fighting so much last week.
I think he definitely could. He only lost the draft last week, if I remember correctly, because he was fighting with a few others. I think Francis Castillo Romero was involved in that as well. So if Wildman can stick with those front 4, he could very well play a role here. It doesn't look like Tomcat Stevens is going to be on the grid, by the way, so it's a 7-car race here, but that doesn't really matter. We saw last week, we had 3 cars up in the lead pack at the end of the race, and it was the best race we'd seen all season. You don't need a big field to have a great race when you have a track like Road America where there's such long straights. We're going to have plenty of a show with just 4 or 5 cars up front, most likely.
Yeah, and as the phrase goes, you only need 2 cars for a motor race after all.
Exactly.
So we are going to have some fun sending off these GR86s one last time here in the flatlands of Road America. It's relatively flat anyway over the course of the topography. At least iRacing says so. So that's what I'm going to go for, because we know my American geography is subpar. But anyway, that's for another day. 7 cars make their way around the formation lap then, and it is going to be a long one. It's a 2-minute 30 flying lap, so goodness knows how long this formation lap's going to take. Nearly double that, you'd imagine. But let's find out. Gives us a little bit of a chance to preview this one. As we mentioned earlier, Joey, it's not much of a conversation for the overall win in this championship. Alexis Moisan needs to complete 50% of the laps of the race winner today to be crowned champion, with a 51-point lead heading into this race. Realistically, he would need like a top 45, but we don't have enough cars to make that possible. So he just needs to complete 50% realistically.
Yeah, he needs to not crash. That's all he needs to do, and it's very easy to not do that. Basically, the only thing that could happen is if Andrew Sharp somehow gets into him, he has a massive crash, Sharp wins, and Moisan doesn't finish 50% of the laps. But the percentage of that happening is immensely, immensely low. Even if Alexis Moisan does crash for the first time this season, he's going to be able to drive it back to the pits in a GR86. He's going to be able to get some repairs. He's going to finish the race guaranteed. So it's all but a formality, but we can't crown the champion until the champion's crowned at the end of the race. So we do have to be just a little bit tentative and maybe give some false hope to the Andrew Sharp supporters in the chat.
We do, and well, I always get a bit nervous about these ones because, only the other day I got into a 40-minute race where I had hour and 20 worth of repairs, so you never know what's going to happen, do you? At the end, even with the race here with just 7 cars at Road America. The other championship battles, by the way, between Jeremy Schneider and Graham Wildman, just 1 point, between those two, 1 position as well, I suppose. They're in 3rd and 4th in the standings. They're 3rd and 4th in qualifying as well. They'll be sharing row 2. And then sharing row 3 is Kevin Berkvist and Patrick Reed, who are only 5 points apart going into today. I think it's going to be difficult for Reed to overtake Berkvist in that fight as well, but you never know. So after all, we do have other things to focus on here. I think the most likely one to change is Wildman getting ahead of Schneider, because if he finishes 3rd with Schneider in 4th, then Wildman would get a top 3 in the standings.
Exactly, and how fitting that if Alexis Moisan does go 10 out of 10 here, it'd be a historic season in the GR86s at a historic place like Road America. I don't know if you know this, Ewan, but the first motor race ever in the United States, all the way back in 1875, or 1878 rather, was right here in Wisconsin. So Alexis Moisan, there's no better place to make history for him.
Absolutely, I didn't know that. That's quite a good fact, with that being quite such a long time ago, to be honest, these days. Anyway, let's go to the present, shall we? Because we've got one last GR86 Series race on the books here this evening. 35 minutes at Road America. One last race in the PRL GR86 Series before these cars bid farewell to this great series. It's going to be Andrew Sharp and Alexis Moisan on the front together, and Sharp wasting no time in getting this final race underway. The green flag waves at Road America, and we are racing. Sharp getting off to a good start, with Moisan having to defend and get bumped by his teammate. Graham Wildman looking for places on the way in towards turn 1 as well in the orange car on the outside. Moisan holds on to 2nd, Schneider into 3rd, and Wildman slots into 4th place. It's very much the orderly start that we expected, with the slipstream being so important over the course of this race.
It's very easy to have a clean start when there's only 7 cars in the field, so well done to everybody for staying in line. And this picture that you see right now, coming through the middle straight of this track into turn 5, I think this could pretty much be what we see all race long. I don't see any way that you really lose the draft unless you're off the pace or you make a mistake. So Matthew Cherwick in 7th has to be careful here. He's got to stay close in the draft. He doesn't want to lose it early, because we could have all 7 cars in the draft for all race long if you are able to stick to the tail end.
That's a little bit wide from Sharp there, who may have gotten off track, but it won't be too much of an issue. Shouldn't be a problem round here. A little bit wide at the top of the hill there at turn 6 as well. Moisan will just close in as a result of that, but maybe not worth getting too excited about it for the moment, because you just don't know how much fuel saving they're going to do. And there is the lift from Moisan. There may be the story of the first 20-30 minutes of this race, to be honest, because we saw late pit stops at Watkins Glen. It was very important when they came in as well, and at some certain points none of the drivers at the front really wanted to leave that race, and you get the feeling that it could be the same, if not even more of an exaggerated effect of that today.
Yeah, the leader can save a little bit of fuel, especially because Road America does have a few more heavy braking zones than Watkins Glen does. But if you're in the draft, even if you're 3rd in line, Jeremy Schneider, you're in great shape if you're just in the draft, saving a little bit. But some of these guys do have to be careful. You already see the gap to Jeremy Schneider expanding a little bit up to Moisan. You see Matthew Cherwick just trying to stick with the back end of this train. There's a little bit of separation already, and with Sharp and Moisan not running side by side, not really fighting each other, you do have to be at 100% pace right now to make sure you don't lose that draft early.
Yeah, it will be really detrimental to your race to lose it at any point, never mind this early on. So coming towards the end of the opening lap of this race, should be around 14 laps or so today. Not many, of course, but it's quite a long lap for these cars, around 2 minutes 30 for a lap. There they go across the line. Moisan tucks right up behind Sharp, not so much lifting off as bumping him down the straight. He is in a bump draft to victory car after all, and that's what he's doing right now in towards turn 1. Sharp will remain the leader then, ahead of Moisan. Then it's going to be Schneider, Wildman in that 4th position there as well. You can definitely see though that the front two at least have a slight edge over the rest, because the field is relatively close together. But apart from that gap between 2nd and 3rd, you can just see Sharp and Moisan have that slight bit of a pace advantage over Schneider there, who's struggling slightly to hang on.
Yeah, it was a bad exit from Sharp out of turn 3 there. So that's going to be helpful for Schneider. He's able to get that little bit closer. He does probably want to be within about half a second or so he can more fully use the draft, so he can afford to lift off a little bit in the braking zones. But he hasn't lost the draft, and that's what's critical. Graham Wildman looked to be a little bit wide in turn 5. Kevin Bergquist very wide in turn 5, and that might be the end of him in the draft. He's got to be full push right now to make sure he doesn't lose Graham Wildman. He's already lost a second to him. He needs to get closer.
Well, I said earlier on that this race may filter down into 2 groups, and that looks like happening right now. Bergquist going deep in towards turn 5, possibly getting himself out the draft, and there's the moment. 1.2 seconds is the gap. I mean, that is quite a stretch now to be able to get the draft, and I think Bergquist will have lost it. I think we are going to start to see a battle for 5th place, separate for the one battling for the lead here. But based on the qualifying times where these guys were, 2.5, 3 seconds slower than pole, I don't think it's too much of a surprise that they've not been able to hang on to the draft.
It's a shame, but they'll have a spirited fight for the end of the top 5, and if things do start to get a little bit crazy up front, if Sharp and Moisin do start running side by side for some reason, that could be what brings them back in. But you saw just the head of your screen there, Sharp did not lift, Moisin did lift. He stayed in line, he held back, he lifted very, very early into Canada corner, lost about 3/10, and they are just content to ride in line right now. But they're not content to ride in line at the back of the field. Patrick Reed and Matthew Cherwick side by side up the Bill Mitchell bend. Not always a place where you can run side by side, but in low-speed cars like this, you can, giving each other plenty of room, plenty of respect. And Patrick Reed's going to stay ahead for the moment, but Cherwick's got the draft up the front stretch.
Yeah, well, they are resigning themselves now to a fight for 6th place, really. That seems to be what they're happy with further back there as Moisin gets into the back of Sharp. Schneider sets the fastest lap of the race so far with a, 32.0. With the draft that's slightly skewed from qualifying, I suppose. Through turn 1 they go. Top 4 remain absolutely together. And that will remain the same as well for quite some time. We're 5 minutes into this race, a long way to go, nearly half an hour remaining of the GR86 series in the PRL, the final round of this season before this car is replaced going forward on Monday nights here in the PRL, unfortunately. So one last race, and it is going to be a close one to end off by the looks of things. Sharp still leads this one ahead of Moisin, Schneider and Wildman, who are all still very much in contention for this race win. And unlike most motor races, where by this point you do have a bit of an idea who's going to win, we're really no closer to knowing the name of the winner here.
No, we might as well close our eyes right now, Ewan, go to sleep for about 14 minutes, wake up after the pit stops, and then we might start to have an idea of who's going to win. But right now, it is all strategery, it's all fuel saving, and for some of those drivers at the back of the train, it's not quite as much fuel saving. Jeremy Schneider might actually be in maybe one of the weakest positions of anybody right now, because he is definitely pushing. He's got the fastest lap of the race. He's had to push a little bit harder to stick with Moisin and Sharp, so once the pit stops do roll around, I have a feeling that his pit stop might be a little bit longer. Unfortunately, I have a feeling the Graham Wildman's stop is going to be a little bit longer as well, so they may be stuck with the leaders in the short term, but if they're not able to save that fuel, it may fall apart in about 14 minutes' time when that pit stop rolls around.
And let's see how far they can go as well, because I was a bit surprised by how long some of the drivers went into the race at Watkins Glen, especially Sharp, I think, who was the last to pit. I was a bit surprised by him, I've got to say. And at the moment, a little bit surprised by the willingness of him to lead the way. We're coming towards the end of lap 3 now, and he's shown no signs of wanting to give this lead away. And not many signs of fuel saving either. I'm sure that he is a little bit, but not showing any signs of that at the moment. Can he deny Alexis Moisin a perfect season in the PRL? Only been done twice before. Only been done once before in a 10-race season by Sean Campbell. Was it earlier in 2023, I think it was, in the GT4s. And Moisin looking to add his name to that list in the GR86 series. He gets into the back of Sharp again, and it's almost like watching a replay of the previous lap. Now Wildman, the one to take the fastest lap, surely sending the YouTube chat crazy with a 31.6, you'd imagine.
Looks like Matthew Cherwick had an issue, by the way. He's fallen down the order, but Graham Wildman, he's pushing, and that's good. But here is Matthew Cherwick into the pits. I think he may have hit the wall, may have gone off. That does not look like a healthy GR86. Yeah, there's a little bit of damage on the front end, so He's going to get his pit stop out of the way very early. No fast repairs here in the series, only slow repairs. So he's going to be waiting for a couple of seconds in the pits to get that nose banged back in. But on the topic of Graham Wildman, he's pushing. He's fast right now. He can get a position here. But let's see what happened to Cherwick actually. Back on this topic, on the grass out of the final corner, loops it around and hard into the inside wall. Bad luck for Matthew Cherwick there. It's an easy mistake to make. You want to carry as much speed as possible through that final corner, and if you carry too much, clip that grass, there is very little you can do to save it.
Yeah, just pushing a little bit too hard, getting into the grass, and that's it really. I mean, you have sort of made your bed when you're in the grass anyway, because you're going to have a slide to save, and even if you do, you're probably going to lose the draft of the car in front. So that was over quite early on in that sequence there for Cherwick, unfortunately. On board with Graham Wildman now, with Graham Cam, as it says on the bonnet. Didn't notice that ever this season. Maybe it's been there the whole time, but I've only just seen it.
And how
on
smart
the
that he's flipped it upside down for the camera.
Yes, it's like he knows there's one there,
yeah.
And that we'll be using it over the course of the day. So I hope that's been there all season. But yeah, on board with Graham Camp and watching the battle in front of us unfold here, really, and not really getting involved. There was a bit of a short shift there on the way in towards Canada Corner for Graham, and lifts off slightly on the way into the turn as well. It really is a waiting game, isn't it? I can't see him moving from this position until after the pit stops.
No, I can't either. Are you familiar with a song by Susie Quattro called The Wild One, Ewan?
No.
I expected that answer, but the lyrics go, I'm a red-hot fox, I can take the knocks, I'm a hammer from hell, honey, can't you tell, I'm the wild man. It's actually the Wild One, but he's got a theme song now. I just remembered that.
That is that's a good theme song for him, if he wants it. I mean...
Yes, I'm the wild man.
Is it, I guess it's an American song or something that I've just never heard before, but...
I think I heard it in a commercial one time.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes more sense. Apparently our producer's never heard of it either. As Patrick Reed is going to have to come into pit lane, I'm afraid, and he does have big damage here. Cherwick just had a bit of a bump on the front end, but Patrick Reed has got something more sinister going on here. There's rear suspension damage by the looks of the way that car's wiggling about and crabbing along the road. As the leaders make their way out of turn 3, I'm sure we'll get a replay of what happened to Reed, and here it is.
No.
It's almost like a replay of Cherwick, only with a bit more rear right contact, and that's what's given him the damage. You'd imagine the suspension is pretty done for there on the rear right now.
Yeah, and that's made Kevin Berquist a very, very lonely boy. Both of his competitors have crashed out now, and the rest of the drivers are about 4.5 seconds up the road. So old Kevin's going to be having a Road America track day for the next 24 minutes, which there's plenty of worse places to have a track day. Even when you're driving around on your own, it's still pretty satisfying to basically put together a qualifying run for the next 24 minutes. And if there is some drama up front here with these front four, maybe there's a pileup that collects all four of them in the final laps. That's how Berquist could still win, so you can't give up.
No, absolutely. You've got to keep going until the end. You just never know what's going to happen. And of course, you want the points and want to cement that 5th place in the standings, which would be a great result for him. And even if he would be able to hold on to this position, he's never been in the top 5 in a singular race this season, so he would be reaching new heights with the race result. He's got absolutely the motivation, all the motivation in the world to continue on, even if he is a little bit lonely at the moment. Coming towards the end of lap 5 then in the race. Still about 9 to go in this one. Still a long way to go as well for Andrew Sharp, who's led all 4 laps so far, about to lead 5. Moisan still behind with Snyder and Wildman 4 for the lead. The biggest battle for the lead we've seen for all of the season, really. We've seen a number of close finishes at the likes of Monza and Phoenix, and last week at Watkins Glen as well, just to name a few. But we've never seen a race quite like this. It's pack racing, arguably, at Road America here in the GR86 series. They make their way out of the final corner now. Andrew Sharp still leading the way, still with Alexis Moisan right behind. And while they are not really overtaking one another, they are showing themselves to be the 2 strongest, because they consistently put a little bit of time into Jeremy Schneider and Graham Wildman, despite the fact that Graham holds the fastest lap at the moment.
So we gave Graham Wildman the theme song. We got to think of theme songs for the 3 guys in front of him, because there's very few drivers in the PRL that have their own theme songs. There's Graham now, there's Kevin San Diego, who used to race in this series last season, and now we got to think about everybody else. There's Sharp-Dressed Man, could do that for Andrew Sharp, but Moisan and Schneider, those aren't words. That's hard to do wordplay with. There's a song called Jeremy. There is a song called Jeremy by Pearl Jam.
Your pop culture knowledge is quite unbelievable, to be honest with you. I'm going to leave that to you because mine's terrible. And you can get thinking in the YouTube chat
man
as well.
Look at him. He's got a 24 on his shirt. They come running just as fast as they can because everybody's crazy about a sharp-dressed man.
Dear me. Well, this is.
I can't sing it for too long. We'll get copyright.
No, let's not replicate the songs too much, but it will scare people away. But there is Andrew Sharp. We haven't had a chance to have a look in car very often with him, but I think he's just been told maybe that he's on camera at the moment. I don't know who he's chatting to at the moment, but because I don't believe he has any teammates in the race, does he? But yes, I don't think so actually. I don't think any of his teammates are here. But he is still leading the way, still ahead of Alexis Moisan, still waiting for those pit stops really. At the end of this lap, we'll be just one away from half distance with still just over 20 minutes to go. The waiting game continues at the front of the field at Road America, still 4 for the lead right now.
Andrew does kind of bear a resemblance to the comedian Joe Pera, by the way, so that's a great compliment. If you look him up later, that's a great person to be compared to. But also, we're talking all about Alexis Moisan having a historic season if he can win here. Well, Andrew Sharp, it would be pretty historic for him because he hasn't just not won this season. He's never won a race ever in the PRL. This would be his first win if he can get this done. He's been searching for it all season, all of last season. If he can get his first win in this immense pressure, it'll be a fantastic thing. It'll be a fantastic thing for his confidence as he goes into next season. I believe he's going to be racing GT4 in the LMP3-GT4 Challenge next season. There's no better way to start your season early than win the final race of the previous season.
Yeah, sort of moving up in terms of speed of the categories, because while the GR86 series is very much the slowest, I would argue that maybe the GT4's second slowest. The car next season may well be slowest again in the PRL next season. Question marks over that, and whether maybe one of the Thursday night cars is maybe slower than that, depending on what we're going to be using. Is the Radical slower? Maybe it's probably quicker.
I think the Radical is definitely faster, but next season the Radical is gone and Formula 4 is coming back, and that would be an interesting multi-class race. Formula 4 versus GR86. I feel like those would be pretty evenly matched.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I wasn't sure whether one of the Thursday night cars may be slower, but anyway, he's very much staying in the same kind of category, and he should be well suited to the GT4s. Hopefully, it goes well for him as we begin lap 7. Moisan gets close again and even has a peek to the inside, but it's only for show, I guess you could say. And as we come towards the end of lap 7 here, Joey, with a predicted 14 laps on the day, Alexis Moisan is only mere miles from a title here at the moment. Needs 50% of the race distance today to be crowned champion, no matter where he finishes, and he's only a couple of miles away from completing that.
And it would be his first championship in the PRL, first of many, I'm sure, if he does stick around. He's been kind of a historic type of driver, not just because of all his wins, but he's been so dominant. There's only been a few races this season where he's really been put under pressure, and even in those high-pressure situations, he's still won. So with 9 wins, he's already put himself very, very high in the all-time win table. Not many drivers have won 9 races. I believe he's in the top 40 all-time after one season. So if he comes back next season, I don't believe he's signed up for anything, but if he's in LMP3 or GT3 or Formula 3 or anything else, he's going to be a championship contender. He's a very strong driver in every type of machinery. That's why he's won multiple sim racing competitions in the past. I believe he won a Gran Turismo competition in Canada a couple of years ago and got to test a Radical, if I'm remembering correctly, so he's got a long future.
Yes, certainly does. On board with Graham Wildman, who is at the back of the group. We go over the halfway mark in the GR86 series at Road America, and with this moment here, Alexis Moisan is going to be crowned champion. His first ever title in the PRL, and the last ever for the GR86 series, for now at least. Alexis Moisan, crowned champion of the GR86 series, ahead of Andrew Sharp at the end of a long 10-race season in which Alexis Moisan so far is undefeated. Will he remain undefeated by the end of today? Well, There's still 7 more laps to find out, and Andrew Sharp would very much like to have at least one race win next to his name at the end of this season, because as you say, it would be his first PRL race win, and he would very much like it to be today. Out of turn 3 they go now. The 4 of them still absolutely together in a way that they have been for the entirety of the first 20 minutes or so. They make their way down towards turn 5. Will Alexis Moisan make a move? Get us excited on lap 8, but doesn't look like it for the moment, does it? He'll stay behind. Moisan just waiting for later. I wonder if he knows that at this point he is crowned champion, or whether he's accepted that he was probably going to be crowned it anyway at this point here with the points of matters that he had. Maybe he realised that that there was very little chance he was going to lose it anyway.
I mean, I think honestly he might have probably thought he had it wrapped up coming into tonight. I don't even think he knew it was mathematically possible, but hopefully somebody is listening, maybe a third teammate to him and Jeremy Schneider. Maybe they're in their ear saying, you know what, you've won the championship, so you can park it now. You can make it an Andrew Sharp versus Graham Wildman battle. Make the chat happy, but somehow I don't think that's going to happen. Somehow I think they're going to be sticking around here for 16 more minutes, and they could break up the Andrew Sharp party. They could be the Heartbreakers just like last week in 15 minutes time.
They very much could. 15 minutes still remaining, and how much of this race remaining when they come into the pit lane? It's still going to be the important moment of this race. The pit stop times will be crucial to the outcome of this one. Out of Canada corner they go. Sharp leading the other 3 as if they are his followers at the moment, and I suppose they are in some ways. In towards the final turn, Schneider a bit wide there, and Wildman very nearly to the inside of him. I think they'll remain in the draft, but that was a nervy moment for Schneider. You don't want to get too wide into the final corner there, because you can end up on the grass and spinning around very easily.
I've been scrolling through my Spotify playlist, Ewan, to try and think of some things that are Moisan related, but I'm really struggling. There's got to be something with the word my, Moisan, but there's nothing coming up. I think the only music people are going to tolerate right now is the musical sounds of the GR86 engine.
I think so. I'll leave you to that for the next few moments while we try and get one for Alexis Moisan. We're trying to get them for all the drivers, by the way. It started by Graham Wildman's theme tune, which Joey had come up with. But anyway, we'll leave him to that over the course of the next few moments. 14 minutes to go here at Road America. Let's go on board with Graham Wildman, with Graham Cam for a couple of moments, shall we? As we go through the middle sector here at Road America. He's watching those 3 in front. Let's listen in to Graham and hear the inputs over the course of the middle part of this lap. On board with Graham Wildman through the middle part of the lap. Still 12.5 minutes remaining. Roughly 5 laps at the end of this one. But with pit stops pending here, you just do not know where this race is going to turn next. Out through Canada corner they go now. Andrew Sharp still leads the way ahead of Alexis Moisan, then Jeremy Schneider, then Graham Wildman, who we were just riding on board with, and hearing the inputs from hearing that he is still very much saving fuel at this stage in the race, as they all will be, of course. Out through the final corner now, Andrew Sharp is in, and they're all in. Well, the key moment of this race is all going to happen at once with 5 to go, because Sharp leads them all onto pit lane.
It's pit stop party, boom, 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 boom. I want them all in pit lane, and they are all here. But who's going to have the shortest stop? Can Andrew Sharp have the shortest stop from the lead? How much fuel has Moisan been saving? How much fuel has Schneider been saving? How much fuel has Wildman been saving? All we can do now is sit and wait for those pit stop numbers to be spit out, and then we've got a race to the finish.
We will have a race on after this. That is for sure. Kevin Bergqvist is also in, by the way, indicating that really it's not realistic to go any further with these cars. They all come in the positions that they qualified in, so they'll pull into their pit boxes rather nicely, and none of them overshoot as well, which is absolutely crucial. Wildman goes first, gets going, but Sharp with the end of pit lane will get out first. Moisan will be second. Wildman right there as well. Look at this, they're all very close on the way out of pit lane. Jeremy Schneider has lost time. Has he lost the draft entirely? He might well have done.
He may have done, and now the fight is on for 11 more minutes here. There's no more riding in line. There's no more saving fuel. The final pit stop of the season is done, and now it is car-to-car combat for the final 11 minutes of this race. You need to make those passes when you can. You need to get aggressive, and I think the first chance Alexis Moisan gets into turn 5 here, he's going to go for his first chance at the dive, and there he goes. He peeks to the inside.
Well, wasn't expecting the racing to kick off absolutely immediately, but it is on the exit of the pit stop phase. Alexis Moisan heads to the inside on the way in towards turn 5. Andrew Sharp late on the brakes on the outside, and he'll continue to hold the lead. The intensity at Road America ramped up one last time. With 4.5 laps to go, we've got a race on between Sharp, Moisan and Wildman for the win here, the final win of the GR86 series this season.
You know, we've given all the hype to Andrew Sharp potentially getting his first win, all the hype to Alexis Moisan potentially having a lossless season. Well, Graham Wildman's never won in the PRL either. This is his first season in the PRL, and he has shown some incredible pace here at the end of this season. I don't know what the future holds for him, but as well, for him, if he can get a win to end this season, to end the GR86's run in the PRL, that would do wonders for his confidence. And that would make him a championship contender in pretty much whatever he decides to race next season. So this could be one of the great upsets. If Graham Wildman could beat the two titans of this season, he could finally make the chat very, very happy. As if they haven't been happy enough already, they're going to get a big, big reward if he can get by these two guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure RaceSpotTV YouTube chat will have ever seen anything like it, but let's see, there's a long way to go until that point. Alexis Moisan's down the inside again at Canada Corner. Andrew Sharp is round the outside and struggling to hang on at the moment. They're still side by side. Sharp's got a good run actually, and here comes Wildman for second. Down the inside at the penultimate turn. He's looking for that place, he's not getting it. And Schneider is coming back into this as well, by the way, as a result of the fighting. Sharp will take the final corner exactly how he wants to, and he'll hold on to the lead in that way. It's going to be a good run for Schneider. Wildman couldn't quite get into second place there. Moisan hangs on for the moment, and he'll still have the running towards turn 1. The slipstream on these straights is quite remarkable in these cars.
4 laps to go at the line, and exactly what you mentioned, Ewan. Jeremy Schneider is back in the fight here. Just that little bit of side-by-side racing is all he needed to slow the leaders down, and he's back in the draft now. It's a 4-car fight for this win now. It's going to be tough to break up the top 2, but you already saw Graham Wildman was able to try it. He got to the inside of the Bill Mitchell bend, but unfortunately, Road America switches back a lot. You can be in the inside one corner, and you're on the outside for the next corner. It's going to be all about choosing your moves, choosing the right time to make them, and also being aggressive whenever you can. We're going to see a lot of aggression here. Moisan's a little bit too far back, I think, to go for the dive into turn 5 this time, but once we get to Canada Corner again, or he's actually got a push from his teammate, that'll help him a lot.
It will. Wildman and Sharp are together, and the teammates are together on the inside as well. Down towards turn 5. Sharp's going to get dived. Oh, it's too late on the brakes. Way too late from Schneider, and Graham Wildman takes the lead of this race out of turn 5. It's side by side for second as well. They're in danger of letting Wildman out front right now and breaking the draft as well. Could this be the big upset we were hoping for here? Graham Wildman has taken the lead. It's Schneider, Moisan and Sharp who are second, third and fourth right now.
I can't wait until we see a replay of that, because they all missed the corner. Jeremy Schneider almost misses turn 8 as well, and he's going to be holding up his teammate for the moment. He's got to make sure he can get back in the draft of Wildman. He's within 8/10, so he is there. But if he's fighting with his teammate Alexis Moisan, if they lose that 1.5 second margin, that's going to make their lives so very, very difficult here. They've got to think about their fight as teammates here, and if they can get back up to Graham Wildman. But what a move. All 3 of the guys ahead of him ran off the road, and Wildman drives through. Let's take a look here. You see Schneider gives the push to Moisan, gives him all the speed in the world that he needs, but Sharp misses the corner, Moisan misses the corner, Schneider misses the corner and almost hits his teammate, and there goes Graham through.
I think Schneider did hit Moisan there, by the way, and Sharp just got caught on the outside as a result of it. Now, Moisan has been let through by Schneider there so that they can just stitch this group back up together again and make absolutely sure that Wildman didn't get away without the draft there. It was unlikely, but they've just made absolutely sure with that move there. So, out towards the line, 3 laps to go. Hold on to your hats and get to the edge of your seats here, because this is going to be quite a finish to the GR86 series in the PRL. 3 laps of Road America remaining. Wildman weaving around a little bit now to try and break the slipstream, to try and deter Alexis Moisan from trying to get through as he searches for a 10 out of 10 season in both wins and, of course, performance, I suppose, in towards turn 1. He's in second place. Andrew Sharp has gone from first to fourth in 1 lap. He'll look to start his comeback here on this lap as well.
No pressure whatsoever, Graham. You've just got one of the most successful drivers in PRL history behind you, and you got to hold him off for about 12 more miles. But no pressure other than that. This is going to get dicey here, though, Ewan, because we're at the scene of the crime on the previous lap. Schneider isn't to the back of Moisan, though. There's going to be no push. There's going to be no attack. Wildman's going to be safe for the moment, but with Moisan right behind him in the draft, once Canada Corner comes around, once the backstretch comes around, things are going to get spicy once more, especially if Schneider can get to the back of his teammate again.
There certainly was contact between them in towards this corner last lap, I would argue. Sent all 3 of them off the road, and Graham Wildman from 4th to 1st into the lead. He still holds that position with just over 5 minutes to go. You get the feeling he might well hold on to it for the remainder of this lap as well. But when we get to the end of the next one, when we get to the home straight, what's going to happen with Moisan just behind? 9 wins out of 9 so far this season. Looking for the perfect season, Alexis Moisan. We've only seen it twice before in the PRL. But never in the GR86 series, of course. This would be a first for Moisan. Through the kink there will come now. Wildman under a lot of pressure, and it does seem that Schneider doesn't quite have the pace here of Moisan, because you can see that gap opening in front, and Andrew Sharp's getting caught behind Schneider a little bit now on the way towards Canada Corner, with Wildman defending, taking the ultra long route through the gently bending left-hander there. Now in towards Canada Corner. Wildman holds on to the place, but he goes too deep. And Alexis Moisan will be on the outside going into the penultimate turn. He just backs off a little bit, but Andrew Sharp certainly isn't. He's going for 3rd now in towards the penultimate turn, alongside Jeremy Schneider. They're side by side, and Sharp is forced to tuck back into line again.
This is that switchback we were talking about. Sharp tried to go for the dive to the inside, but it fell apart the second he got to that final corner. And Graham Wildman did actually save himself a little bit. Got wide through Canada Corner, but was able to hold his speed better than Moisan was. And he's able to hold on to the lead for the moment, but you are not letting Moisan get away with one mistake. He's still in the draft. He's lifting off a little bit down the front stretch here, actually, so he can get a better run down the next straight into turn 5. It's very smart driving from Moisan, but will it pay off for him now that he's got his teammate behind him again?
Well, with his teammate behind, though, is he just holding on to second for the end of this race, knowing that he's got the protection from Schneider behind to go and take a win here at Moisan, or will it be a little bit more complicated than that? Let's see. Out of turn 3 they go. It's a good run for Moisan. I think Wellman got it slightly wrong there, and now there's going to be a pass, surely. Or is he just going to bump him along the straight? Well, I think he's waiting in second place now with his teammate protecting him from behind. Alexis Moisan is in the exact position he wants to be as Graham Wildman breaks it towards turn 5. How are they going to upset this one? Because the 2 teammates have got a stranglehold over this group at the moment. They've got their main man in the right position, and they've got the rear gunner in 3rd as well.
This is some interesting strategy from Moisan. He's putting the pressure on Wildman. Instead of going for the move, he's kind of scaring him a little bit. He's giving him the push. He's making sure he's glued to the back of Wildman's rear end. Because we've already seen a couple of bobbles from Graham. We've seen him make mistakes. He's definitely feeling the pressure right now. And if Alexis can continue to do that and make him make a big mistake, that's an easy way to make a move. When the guy in front of you almost throws it off the road, it's much easier than having to pass aggressively around the outside like he's tried to do. But he might have to go the long way around again here. He's fast through the carousel. He sticks to the back of Wildman. But Graham is so defensive. He sticks it all the way to the inside of the track in every braking zone. Moisan's just trying to think of alternate ways to get by him.
Well, that was wide from Moisan there. And now Wildman's going to take this line again. How does Sharp get involved here? Because he's going to have to. He can't stay behind Schneider all day long. And now Moisan defends the place a little bit. There goes Sharp on the outside. He breaks late into Canada corner, but he can't hold it really. And has he just shot himself in the foot there? Is it going to be another day of disappointment for Andrew Sharp? I feel that it might be, as they make their way through the penultimate corner for the penultimate time. It's now Graham Wildman still leading ahead of Alexis Moisan, Jeremy Snyder and Andrew Sharp, who are going for this win, all four of them. And Moisan is in the correct position. He's in the position that he's wanted to be. White flag is waving. Just one more lap here in the GR86 series. The PRL big farewell to this car at the end of season 3. They make their way towards turn 1. Andrew Sharp looking for the place again. Moisan still hanging on to second, exactly where he wants to be. The two behind, two absorbed with fighting for third place.
And Wildman is hanging on for the moment, but Moisan knew not to go for the move in turn 1. It's a lower percentage move to attempt to make the pass on the outside in turn 1. He knows it's going to be much more easy in the turn 5 braking zone. It's straighter, it's a heavier braking zone, it's an easier place to get the advantage, but it wasn't a good exit out of turn 3 for Moisan. He's actually not going to be close enough to go for a dive into turn 5. Meanwhile, Sharp and Schneider are side by side further back. Sharp needs to clear Schneider in this braking zone if he wants a chance to win this race, and there goes Moisan.
Moisan dives to the inside, and Graham Wildman will tuck into second place. Sharp is on the inside for third here as well. Is he too far back at this point to take the race win? Down the inside at turn 6 goes Sharp. He will get the place. He'll be up to third after leading for most of this one. Now Alexis Moisan has the lead through the middle sector. Does he have enough speed though to negate the slipstream that Graham Wildman is going to get on the way towards Canada corner and on the way to the line as well?
Graham Wildman, there goes Schneider off. Schneider's off. He's going to finish in 4th here. It comes down to Moisan, Wildman, and Andrew Sharp. And Moisan is the fastest driver of anybody in the field through the carousel. He's pulling away from Graham Wildman, but on the exit, Wildman within 3.5 tenths. He's going to have an almighty run into Canada corner, and you know he's going to throw everything at this.
Well, this is going to be a quite fantastic finish now. Alexis Moisan is going to have to work hard for his final win of the season. He's won 9 so far. He's looking for one more. Here we go with Wildman looking for the place into Canada corner.
Here he goes.
He will look to the inside. Oh, he's very nearly gone for it. There's contact. There's a bump again. Moisan goes wide, and Andrew Sharp is going to be out of this as well. He's into the gravel. Into the penultimate corner they go. Is Wildman close enough now? I don't think he's going to be able to dive at the final corner unless he can throw Moisan offline somehow, and he can't quite do it. It's going to have to be on the front of the line. He cuts the corner as much as he possibly can, but Moisan's got a good run, and I think he's going to do it. It's going to be a perfect season for Alexis Moisan, who passes on the last lap to win at Road America. It's a weave across the line. It's another win. It's Alexis Moisan with the perfect season in the GR86 series of the PRL. Andrew Sharp will be in third ahead of Jeremy Snyder, and Graham Wildman is denied his first ever PRL win by just 0.3 of a second.
But what a run he had, so close to ending Alexis Moisan's season. But you can't beat Alexis Moisan for only the 3rd time in PRL history. Lossless, undefeated, perfect season. Fantastic job by Alexis Moisan. Nobody more deserving, and he's had to do it in spectacular fashion. Here, Watkins Glen, Monza. It's never been easy for Moisan in a lot of these races.
What a last couple of weeks we've seen in this series. Alexis Moisan has had to work hard for these wins, and he's got them. He's shown that he's not only a driver that can qualify on pole and just stretch away from the rest of the field, he can also race as hard as anyone, and is fully deserving his 10 out of 10 season. Only the 2nd driver to win 10 races in a season of the PRL, and only the 3rd driver to get the perfect season. He takes it by 0.3 of a second ahead of Graham Wildman. Andrew Sharp ends up on the podium after leading the most laps throughout that race. Jeremy Snyder, with that late trip through the gravel, is 4th, and Kevin Bergqvist with his best race result of the season. Patrick Reed finishes in 6th, 2 laps down ahead of Matthew Cervic, who was in 7th, 3 laps down. Both of those returning to the circuit again after their crashes that we saw, of course. Somehow Patrick Reed's suspension damage was repaired quicker than Matthew Cervik's slight bit of bumper damage. Make that make sense. Don't really know what was going on there. But anyway, let's have a quick chat to some of the drivers, shall we? We'll bring in Graham Wildman first, who we've had fantastic entertainment watching over the course of today's race. Graham, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Second place by just 3 attempts. You were denied at the end by Alexis Moisan, who takes the win. I mean, tell us about those last couple of laps there and how you were feeling going into them, how you were going to go about defending, and then how you were going to try and retake that position again. Just tell us about those last couple of laps.
Yeah, so in practice I didn't think I quite had the pace to hang with these guys, but in the race that quickly changed. So went with fuel saving in the first stint, came out ahead of Schneider there, and was just biding my time until somebody made a move way too deep, and I was able to take advantage there. I didn't think Moisan was going to pass me there, and then I hoped to get the switchback, didn't work, and then I tried to get the switchback again into Canada Corner, and I couldn't make it stick, so well done to Moisan. I couldn't catch him napping.
He just about was able to hold on. I mean, I said this to Andrew Sharp last week because it's a very similar situation, I guess, for you and him. Is there anything you look back now on that lap that you think you should have done differently in terms of trying to win there? Is there anything you could have done differently?
Yeah, I definitely could have parked it on the inside going into turn 3 there. I didn't think he was going to make the move. I thought he was going to hold off until the back stretch, but yeah, that's the one thing I would have changed about that last lap.
Well, it's always easy to look back on these things, I suppose, in hindsight, isn't it? It's difficult to say after all. Let's kind of wrap up the season as a whole as well, Graham, for you, because this is the last race of the GR86 series this season. It is the season finale, of course. How have you found the season overall?
It started off pretty weak, had a couple of rough races in there. I think I've shown improvement throughout this entire season. I think I've put on a good show for you guys a couple of these times. I've enjoyed the opportunity I've had here, and I'm glad I could end it on a high and finish third in the championship in this one. And I'll see you guys next year in the GT4s, or next season.
We look forward to seeing you in the GT4s. I was going to ask you about where you were going to go, but that's good to hear. And yeah, I can confirm, by the way, with Schneider going off there and him finishing 4th, you finished 2nd, you have jumped up to 3rd place. So congratulations on that, Graham, and the race as well. And thanks very much for joining us over the course of this season.
Yep, thanks, fellas. See you in the next one.
Thanks very much, Graham Wildman there. 2nd place on the day, 3rd place in the drivers' standings. 2nd place in the drivers' standings was Andrew Sharp, and Joey Tebbin is now standing by with him.
Indeed I am. Andrew Sharp, just like Watkins Glen last week, it came down to 4 of you guys, or 3 of you guys versus Alexis Moisan, and somehow he ended up winning the race anyway. What more did you need to do? How did you need to get by him, and what went wrong?
I think there was some moving under braking, perhaps, through the last little sector there, which kind of ruined my run because I didn't want to run into the back of Graham. So, a bit unfortunate. Not how I wanted the season to end. But happens when you're in a draft track and you're trying to get things done. So, just, a bit bummed, but it happens.
Still, great season all the way through. 2 poles, so many podiums. How much can you take from this into the GT4s next season? Are you taking confidence? Are you taking knowing some of your competitors like Graham Wildman, who's moving up? How do you look to next season?
I've driven a little bit of the GT4. It's very different on the brakes, so we'll see. I'm going to miss this car a lot in this series. I've had a ton of fun, had a lot of progression as well, like starting out when it was back when it was MX-5s, just chilling on the back of the grid to be fighting for podiums every week. It's big progression for me, so hopefully can carry that over to GT4.
Well, Andrew, congrats on 1 more podium to end of the season. It's going to be a 2nd place for you in the championship as well. That was confirmed today, and we'll see you next season in the GT4s.
Sounds good. Thanks for the broadcast. Appreciate it.
And also, before Andrew Sharp leaves, I do have to give him a thanks because he was the organizer of this series this season, so great job. It's a shame we're losing the GR86s, but we'll see Andrew Sharp next season. We've got 1 more driver to talk to, Ewan. It's the guy who won the race, won the championship, and has still never lost in the PRL, but he does get to talk to Ewan O'Leary. It's Alexis Moisan.
There are some downsides. Welcome in, Alexis. Good to have you with us. 10th win of the season. It's the perfect season for you. I've got to ask you, was this one harder fought than last week, or was last week harder?
I think this one was harder. There's just so much draft, and every corner exit, you have a long straight, so even if you gain time in the corners, there's nothing you can do gain time, so very hard.
It was a very difficult race, but in the end, you were able to do it on the final lap. What was your strategy going into that last lap, though? Because we were speaking to Graham before that he thought you were going to wait for that very last straight towards Canada Corner and those final 3 turns of the race. In the end, you went a bit earlier than that. What were you kind of learning over the course of the race that you might take forward to that last lap?
Well, I was just saving my tires for the last lap. I think that's all you can do in this race. I think leading is kind of pointless because you can't get away even if you're fast. So yeah, just saving tires for the last lap, and I think it worked well. And yeah, pretty much it.
It certainly did. And just one final word on the season as a whole. You are, of course, the champion after 10 race wins, and that won't come as a surprise to anyone. How do you look back on this season, though, in terms of how it's been?
Well, I wasn't expecting to win every single races. I mean, this is my first season in on iRacing, so yeah, very happy with that. It's a very good start.
And in terms of the PRL next season, where are we going to be seeing you if we are going to see you back in the PRL?
I don't know if I will have the time to do this league, but we'll see. I'm thinking about GT4, but yeah, I'm not really sure yet if I will have the time.
All right, well, we hope that we will see you next season, but nevertheless, it's been great to have you this season in the GR86 series. Alexis, congratulations on the wins throughout, and thanks very much for coming to chat to us as well.
Thank you, have a great night.
Thanks so much, Alexis Moisan there. 10th win of the season here at Road America tonight, signing off the GR86 series for Season 3 of 2023, and indeed for the time being, as we bid our farewell to this series. Well, shame to see it go, of course, but must come to an end at some point. Yeah, GR86 series is now no longer. Maybe it will be back in the long-term future, but for now, a lot of the drivers will be going over to GT4, and as we heard from Alexis there, it doesn't have actually any long-term plans to go forward towards the GT4 series, or indeed any series in the PRL next season. Of course, things may change as the summer draws to a close for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere anyway. So a big congratulations to him as he becomes the 3rd driver to win all races in a PRL season as it goes. A record that may well not be replicated, Joey, for quite some time, realistically.
You never know. I mean, unless he signs up for GT4 next season and wins all 10 of those races as well, you never know what could happen, but that is going to be an uphill battle next season. I do hope he does come back, because we've seen the dominance of drivers like Justin Ream and Connor Wagner in GT4 this season. I don't know if they're going to be back in GT4 next season. I think they may be moving to a different category, but he's going to find some great competition in GT4 next season. And he's going to find some great competition in the PRL All-Star Invitational in a couple of weeks as well. He's going to clash with some of his big champions, but that comes in a couple of weeks.
Yes, we've got that to worry about a little bit later on as it goes. Let's move forward towards the LMP3 and GT4 challenge then, and we'll go across the Atlantic in one fell swoop, and we'll go towards Motorland Aragon, where we will be racing here tonight in the LMP3 GT4 Challenge Series. There's the schedule that we've had so far. It was VIR last week in an interesting race, and we've not been to a country that is not USA or Spain since the end of July now, back at the Nürburgring, very long time ago. But it's been a good schedule. It's been a good series to have on the schedule this season for the PRL, as the LMP3 makes its debut in iRacing over the course of this season, coming towards the end of its first season in iRacing, as it turns out. In that LMP3 driver standings, it is of course Wayne Castile who's leading there. He's ahead of Alec Bergstrom, and he also only needs to complete 50% of the race realistically to take that first place. Alec Bergstrom and Adam Brockway will be fighting for second, you'd imagine, ahead of Bradley Holly, who's for fourth. Then it's Joey Haynes and Joshua Wachinski, with Marion Barrios and Mark Kalin, who will all be fighting for fifth place in the standings, you'd imagine, ahead of Darian Roy and Jake Haskell, who round out the top 10. In GT4, it gets a little bit more complicated. There'll be maths going on here for Justin Ream. He needs a top 10 today to absolutely guarantee himself the title, with Connor Wagner in that second place. Austin Wilkins is also in championship contention from third, with William Brennan fighting Miguel Ruiz for fourth. Doug Evans is there in sixth place ahead of Jeff Evans. Then it's Douglas Curry, Nathan Deering and Aaron Create rounding out the top 10 in GT4. As far as the team standings go, it's more in the squad purple leading in LMP3. They've got more than 200 points ahead of Waterback Racing. Then it's Evolve Sim Sports and Broken UI Racing, Walking Pace Racing and an unknown team in 6th. Precision Racing Esports ahead of ST Esport in 8th place. Then it's YS Sim Sport and Vulture Motorsports rounding out the top 10. In GT4, Delta Sport have wrapped up the team standings here ahead of Waterback Racing. Then it's Hyperion Racing, KJ Sim Sport and J Racing. Blue McCaw E-Motorsport are in 6th, not far in front of Morander's M Squad Black. Then it's Hyperion Racing 8th out of 4, Momentum Racing and Aerokinetics in 10th place. There are your standings going into the final race, and there is the view from the air as we look down on Motorland Aragon. Not long remaining in qualifying, just over 4 minutes. And Adam Brockway is currently at the front of the proceedings here. He's got Alec Bergstrom not too far behind. In fact, they're only separated by 1/1000th of a second. I think it's going to be a new journey for most people here, Joey. I mean, the LMP3 is still relatively new to these drivers. Aragon's still very new. It's not a circuit you see in sim racing very often at all. And it's only just making its debut in iRacing as well. I know it's been in a lot of series this season, but nevertheless, I think some of these drivers will have been purchasing this circuit as they got ready for this race this week.
It was only released before this season. They ran it in the PRL GT3 series earlier this season before you joined, Ewan. They also ran it in the Formula 3 series. So some drivers have experience here, but basically nobody in this field has league racing experience at this track, and that evens the playing field, and that makes things very, very interesting. It's also evening the playing field because it's an alternate layout of this track. You'll see as we get down to the end of the back straight here, there's going to be a very, very fast sweeper up the hill. The other layout has a little bit of a hairpin. You go further down the straight, it's a heavy braking zone, then you kind of zigzag your way up the hill. But the motorcycle layout is a very, very fast left-hander, and that is where you can gain a lot of time with the confidence through that final corner.
Yeah, it's an interesting call because you would think that a slower corner, a bigger braking zone might provide more opportunity, but that's not what they've gone for. As Adam Brockway does go a little bit quicker there with a 44.5 to get ahead of Alec Bergstrom. Wayne Castile, by the way, down in 5th place, and he goes to the pit lane now as we go to GT4. It could be another point here for Justin Rem, and this would mean that he only needs 11th place in the race with the pole position point that he might be about to gain. Nearly 2 tenths ahead of Austin Wilkins. Justin Rem certainly has fate in his own hands in this final round of the GT4 Championship, where he has won 6 rounds.
Oh, big hit for Matt Brewer in the middle sector. Bad luck for him there. But we were talking so much about Alexis Moisan having a historic season. It's also been a very dominant season in this series in both classes. Wayne Castile has won 6 out of 9 races so far. Justin Ream has also won 6 out of 9 races so far. So a 70% win rate, if both of them can win today, that would be a very, very big number. But Austin Wilkins puts it on pole in GT4 ahead of Justin Ream now. He hasn't won yet this season. He could end the Ream streak. And Deering's on pole now as well. It keeps changing.
Oh, well, this is an exciting end to this session. Don't forget, it's only 10 minutes in GT4 and LMP3, by the way, and solo qualifying it is as well. Justin Ream is in the first sector, as it turns out. This is 4 and going into 5, and now we're through the gentle turn 6 towards another braking zone at 7. He's only 31 thousandths away, and with 1 minute remaining, it looks like he is going to run out of time, but we'll see if he can continue the lap as Adam Brockway now goes to the front. We've got a new overall pole sitter with a 44.5. Adam Brockway steals it away from Alec Bergstrom, but is there going to be a late lap from Bergstrom himself in the 66? No, there isn't. It's a 44.9, and Brockway, I think he's going to hang on to pole at the front.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a teammate battle there with Moradness, Brockway versus Bergstrom. They're only separated by a couple points, so that pole for Brockway is going to help him a lot in that battle. Nicholas Schwartz here, the Waterback Mercedes, going for his final lap. He's not going to make it to the line either, but he's going to get some extra practice laps around here, some extra corners, and that's always very, very helpful at a place like Aragon, where experience comes at a premium, every little corner here. You can learn something, and that'll help you coming into the race. But I've done some research. Speaking of the GT4 class, Ewan, Nathan Deering, who's on pole right now, guess how many poles he has? 0. Not a single pole for Nathan Deering. It's his first one if he can hang on for 5 more seconds.
And it looks like he will do. Will Deering. And what a day, what a moment for him. Let's see if he can convert it to a race win as well, which would be nice for him. Let's take a look at the starting grid of the final race in this championship. It's Adam Brockway and Alec Bergstrom, only 89 thousandths between them in qualifying, and they're 1 and 2. And a Pat Pelchat, who's put in a good performance there in 3rd. Ozzy Milwain lines up in 4th. Champion in waiting, Wayne Castile is 5th. He only needs 50% of the race distance to be crowned champion here tonight. Joey Haynes is in 6th alongside him. Row 4 will be made up of Joshua Chinsky and Mark Cayley with all-time most race wins to his name. Bradley Holly only 9th off the start here in LMP3. In GT4, it's Nathan Deering who takes it ahead of Austin Wilkins and Justin Rame, all separated by just 300ths of a second. Turner Stroll and Conor Wagner round out the top 5, with Miguel Ruiz joining Wagner on row 3. Aaron Create and Nicholas Schwartz make up row 4, with John Duong and William on row 6. Row 7 has... Oh, my timing screen has just gone off for the moment. Nicholas Johnson and Jared Deployed is on row 7. William Jennings and Douglas Curry on row 8. Ahead of Matt Brewer and Jeffrey Seabock, who didn't qualify in the end. And that will be it for the 27 cars this evening. So, few more GT4s, as you would imagine, than LMP3s. Just 9 of the LMP3s and 16 GT4s. As we have a look at the track conditions, 83 in the air, 84 on the road. Not searing heat, I don't think, but it is only 20 past 9 in the morning. So not too much to worry about. And if it was really, really hot, which it has a tendency to do in this part of Spain on occasion, it would be a bit of a problem, I think, Joey, because there's a lot of corners around here and the tyres would be taking a bit of a beating.
Especially that last corner. You'd be destroying those right side tires. There's a lot of right-hand corners, there's a lot of fast right-hand corners. But luckily, it's a nice, moderate day in Spain. I don't know how you would say that in Spanish. All I know how to say is the word of the day, la palabra del día. And I don't know what the word would be. I just know how to say word of the day.
Well, okay. I'm not much better at Spanish either, to be honest. No habla español. Is that correct? I don't know. But yes, we're going to firmly stay.
I think we're having some technical difficulties with Ewan O'Leary. Hopefully we'll get him back. Hopefully the lack of Spanish knowledge hasn't taken out his internet. But things are going to get very interesting up front. I'm going to do some math for you here. Brockway versus Bergstrom. They've been promoting this on the more Adness social media accounts. They're only separated by 3 points. And with this pole for Brockway, it becomes a 2-point gap, if my math is correct. And that's all Adam Brockway has to do. He's got to finish 2 positions ahead of Alec Bergstrom. And if he gets 2 wins versus Bergstrom's 1, he gets 2nd place in the championship on countback.
Yes, well, and a win versus 2nd place would see him out front. Anyway, apologies for it, by the way, what happened with the win split there. Don't know what was going on, really, but because I can still hear you, not absolutely fine, but apparently not myself. So, anyway, don't know. These are the drivers at the front of GT4. It's Nathan Deering and Austin Wilkins on the front. Justin Rome needs a top 10 to guarantee himself the title. Needs a top 11 if he gets the fastest lap to go with it as well. So that's worth noting. Of course, Wagner also probably needs to win, and he's got a big job on from 5th place.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough day, but it's multi-class racing. This racing series has been known for the drama so far this season. And at a track like Aragon, especially if you run into lap traffic in those early sectors, there can be a large potential for trouble. There's a large potential for getting held up. And qualifying might not even matter if you do end up getting thrown off the road by a little bit of traffic. And another conversation point here at Aragon, because it is a grade 1 style track with tons of asphalt runoff, you've got to think about the incident points around here. You only get 13 incident points in the PRL Road Series before you have to serve a drive-through. You get 17 before you're disqualified. And those 1x off tracks rack up very, very quickly here.
Good point. It's a bit of a soul-destroying one, isn't it, with the amount of tarmac that's around the place. But I guess what else can you expect from a Grade 1 circuit these days? Unfortunately, it's the kind of thing that takes place. 9 LMP3s as it is then, making their way towards the final corner for the first time here on the formation lap. 40 minutes of racing here tonight as the PRL ends out and continues on with season finale with, of course,
crawling down the back stretch here. I think Ewan's internet is crawling a little bit as well. You're back?
Hope so. Don't know what's going on, to be honest. I can't imagine anyone else in my house is using any internet, so I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, final corner it is then here at Motorland Aragon to round out what's a very slow formation lap, in all honesty. And the 9 LMP3s are set to get us underway. There's the very quick version of our final corner. Be giving the right side tyres an absolute workout on the way in towards a new lap. Pace car pulls in and we are ready to go racing one last time here in the LMP3-GT4 challenge. The revs rise in LMP3 and we get ourselves off to a good start. It's Adam Brockway who leads the field away with Alec Bergstrom just behind. Side by side for third place between Pat Pelchat and Ozzy Milwane. It's Milwane who's taken the place into third place as the GT4s get underway with chaos in the background. Goodness me, one of the cars has flown into pit lane in a terrible crash at the back of the pack.
Austin Wilkins was one of them, the second place starter. It's been an absolutely hellacious start for him. I didn't see what happened to the back of the field. Here it is. Wilkins got a jump on the field and spun up over the top of the hill. The driver who started on the outside of the front row loses it, and that's Douglas Corey as well, who clambers the Armco.
Well, I've no idea what he was doing in front of Nathan Deering anyway, but he certainly made a hash of that as it's side by side for third. Milwane just in front of Pelchat, who's hounding him, and now he's down to the inside. Now he'll get through as Wilkins has had more oh dear, he's had more problems, and that is one of Deering's teammates, I think, who he's just hit there. It'll be William Brennan, maybe, or Floyd Kerr, sorry. Who he's hit there. Kerr back to pit lane now as they go through the chicane at the front here, by the way. Pat Pelchat is into third place, nearly 3 seconds off the lead already. Milwane has made a bit of a mistake. Now Castile goes to the outside line in fifth place. He will look for the move on the back straight into fourth.
It's not a place Wayne Castile's used to being, racing in the midfield with some of these Evolve Sim Sport drivers deeper in the field, but Ozzy Milwane has given him the business. And he might go for a move here in the final corner. No, he doesn't. Slots back in line, and they're going to ride in line for the moment. But one lap in the books, already plenty of drama. We still need to take another look at that GT4 situation when we can, because amidst all of that, with Wilkins wrecking, with Deering starting, Justin Reams taking over the lead, and now it's Evolve Sim Sports getting back into line to turn one.
And Conor Wagner hasn't made up any places off of the start there either. So it's been a bit of a disaster. Let's have a look at the replay further back in GT4 for Carl Bishop, who gets into contact here with one of the fellow Caymans. That's a pretty awkward one. And they just cut the...
Lots of runoff.
Well, I'm not entirely sure what that layout is used for. That's a very tight hairpin there they found. But anyway, that's an awkward moment down in Porsche Cayman land in GT4. A bit of a lock-up for Ozzy Milwane as he made his way towards turn 7 there. Now they make their way on this little downhill run. This quite cool section, actually, at 8 and 9, I've got to say. He's just in front of Joey Haynes in an all-evolved SimSport battle. This is a replay at the start. To be honest, I'm not sure how this is even allowed for Wilkins, but he slides out. And then the chaos comes. It's Douglas Curry, as you said earlier on, who makes the contact and smashes into pit lane.
Yeah, I think I invented a word. It was such a hard hit, but Austin Wilkins was not the pole sitter, so I don't know what he was doing jumping the start like that. It was Deering in control of the field. The green flag was out because the LMP3s had gone, but the GT4s don't go until the leader goes. And for one reason or another, Austin Wilkins got a little bit overeager and just lost it over the top of the hill. That's going to be embarrassing for him. And Nathan Deering right now is on an uphill battle of his own trying to get by Justin Ream again.
Side by side. Oh, it's very nearly a spin there further back. Well, who was that involved? I'm not entirely sure as we go back to GT4. One of the BMWs getting out of the way. I think that's being put a lap down. There goes Turner Stroll down the inside of his teammate Nathan Deering and into second place as they all try and chase down Justin Ream at the front of the field. The Cayman leads the way and by quite some distance, although the LMP3s are not far away. We go on board with the race leader Adam Brockway now, who is pretty close to those GT4s. Pat Pelchat still with a lot of pressure behind from the likes of Wayne Castile. There he goes. Milwane, I think, is side by side in there as well. Not entirely sure, to be honest with you. On the way in towards the final turn, Brockway is still definitely leading by a second over his teammate Alec Bergstrom.
I'm going to do some math here. Pace difference between LMP3 and GT4 is about 30 seconds. So we'll do some math in a second, because Nathan Deering has actually fallen down the order as I was trying to do that. He's lost a spot to Duong. He's lost a spot to Wagner. The pole sitter is just not having a good time here once the race is rolled around. He's looking forward at 5 more spots than he had at the start of the field. But if LMP3s are doing 145s, by the way, 30 seconds means they're going to catch lap traffic on lap number 4, and that's coming very, very soon. We're on lap number 3 right now.
Yeah, well, I thought that the lapping was going to happen right about now, pretty much. I think the leaders are pretty close to it, pretty close to the back of the field. Anyway, you've got to remember that the field strings out quite substantially. Unless they were just catching one of those that's fallen back earlier on, and I think indeed they have. Maybe Jeffrey Seabok, not entirely sure. This is a spin for one of the Porsche Caymans. That's Jared Deplu, who goes around at the final turn. It's a tyre destroying corner, as we said earlier, Joey, but it's also a difficult one for the GT4s that don't have the aerodynamic downforce to pin them to the road quite as much as the LMP3s do.
No, you're just trying to fling a road car through there, basically, with these squishy suspensions, with these heavy GT4 cars with very little downforce. It's a corner of bravery, but it's also a corner of making sure you're not too brave and taking too much speed in and then spinning the car around, as we've already seen multiple times. Whether it's cold tires, whether it's hot tires, it is a very, very tricky corner, and this also is an open setup series, so some drivers might be opting for higher speeds down the straight. Some drivers have more downforce for the corners. Nathan Deering's pretty quick on the straights, but he can't outbrake Connor Wagner into the final corner. They're still going to be side by side, though, with Deering in the shorter run through that final apex. He's still there, but Wagner's got the run. They make contact.
Wow, that was close. Nathan Deering there, very nearly ending both of their races, in all honesty, at the final turn there. That was close. In towards turn 1 they go. Wagner will hold on to the place inside the top 5. This is a replay of the start from a little bit further back, by the way, and we can start to unpack the story here. This is on board with Nicholas Schwartz, who had to avoid Wilkins a little bit, and then it all happened in towards turn 1. It seems that Rehm just got a good run on towards the start-finish straight, to be honest, and Deering maybe had to slow down for Wilkins a bit. That was Schwartz down the inside of one of the Mercedes of Miguel Ruiz, it would have been. Very nearly making contact as well. It was a busy start in GT4.
Very, very busy, and things are about to get even busier in a couple of moments' time, because the LMP3s are coming, and if we look probably about a quarter of a lap behind these guys, there they are down the front stretch. They're going to start to see the tail end of the GT4 field very, very soon, and Adam Brockway, who's on an absolute tear right now, setting fastest lap after fastest lap, he's going to catch him soon. We're going to take another look at Nicholas Schwartz on the start again. Or Douglas Corey, rather. We're going to see him get into that wall on the inside. Almost avoids, but makes contact with another one of the Mercedes on the outside. And that is a hard hit, and the race over before it even started for Douglas Corey, unfortunately.
Well, he is back out there again. He'll be at 1 lap down as Ozzy Milwane's off the road here. Oh, the teammates! The teammates! Ozzy Milwane and Joey Haynes make contact as they were 3 wide going through turn 6. That is a disaster for Evolve Sim Sports. The first rule of racing has been broken by Ozzy Milwane and Joey Haynes. They've hit their teammate. Dear, oh dear.
Oh dear, it was awkward because Ozzy was trying to get around Jared Deploy there. Gets very, very deep, very wide, too late in the brakes, probably just distracted a little bit by that GT4. And then coming into this corner, gets a little bit wide, doesn't give Joey Haynes the room he really needed there because he was trying to get by a GT4 as well. And just a little bit of an awkward moment there between those two teammates. I assume they're in the Evolve Sim Sports Discord together. They might both be silent right now. They might both not know what to say.
Well, that is an awkward voice call, if they are in one at the moment. Not entirely sure, but That would be quite a moment. They're down to 7th and 8th now, with at the front, Adam Brockway still leading. Alec Bergstrom is second, and if Pat Pelchat 5 seconds back, then it's Wayne Castile who's looking for a move onto the podium. Here goes Conor Wagner up the inside of John Duong for 4th place. The Cayman holding on here, but not for much longer on the run on this downhill right-hander. He should have the place, and Wagner, and he does, with Nathan Deering trying to get through as well, and that's 2 places lost for John Duong in a couple of corners.
Every reason for Nathan Deering to be aggressive right now. He's lost 4 spots now since the start of the race. He's just starting to make forward progress now. John Duong throws it off the road behind. He's going to start racking up those incident points with those off tracks. And Nathan Deering, if he makes any more contact, might be worrying about 4 X's in addition to those off tracks. And that is when incident points really start to stack up, when you're adding 4 of them at a time.
Yes, it is. Especially when you've only got 13 before a drive-through, which we could well see today with the way that this track goes. Out onto the back straight for Wagner as he tried to chase down Justin Rim. Of course, only needs a 12th place without the fastest lap and only 11th with it. Wagner, that's of course providing that Wagner wins the race, and right now neither of those things are going in the 51 driver's favour. There he is in the red, black and white Mercedes. He's had a decent season as Wagner, but I think overall, other than a race win a couple of weeks ago, Reem has just been that little bit stronger over the course of the season. Since round 4, he's only not won 1 race as traffic now begins for the leaders. Adam Brockway still out front right now as he looks for that 2nd place in the championship. Alec Bergstrom drops to 2 seconds back with those first couple of cars.
I had to go the long way around through the final corner, and I did my math a little bit wrong earlier. It's not 15 seconds between the two cars. It's 15 seconds, actually, instead of 30 seconds, so it's going to take twice as long. I don't know how that happened, but the math was wrong. That's why you never trust a commentator's math. You can trust this one, though. Wayne Castile, the 3 car, up into 3rd, as Will Jennings just on the track, not necessarily in the way, but just in the sake of GT4 traffic being in the way for Pat Pelchat there. And here we start to get into some of these faster cars. Nathan Deering is the next car ahead of Adam Brockway, and he is not going to be an easy guy to pass, especially through this sector, but he goes wide and opens the door.
A little bit of space for Brockway now on the way towards 8 and 9, this little downhill section. The battle for 3rd place will continue to rage on as well. Castile now in front of Pat Pelchat, now on the podium again. Only needs 50% of this race, of course, and only realistically needs to complete another 8.5 minutes to this one to be crowned champion, ahead of the likes of Brockway and Bergstrom, who are, well, challenging him all throughout the season, of course, but not successfully, as Pat Pelchat gets it wrong in towards this very elongated chicane, if you like, and he will drop back further in 4th place, further cementing Castile's place on the podium.
More cars coming up here. That's not Austin Wilkins. That's Miguel Ruiz, I believe, right ahead of Adam Brockway. And we ride on board with Brockway here as he comes through the final corner. This is not a good place to reach GT4 traffic. The LMP3s are much, much quicker through this final corner, and he's got to go the long way around. Gonna get very wide, a little bit squirrely, and you see Bergstrom almost a full second made up just in that 1 lap.
The give and take of traffic here at Motorland Aragon is quite substantial, as Conor Wagner has been overtaken by Nathan Deering now for 4th place. So Deering through, not sure where that happened, possibly down at turns 5, I think. Or maybe not, maybe a little bit earlier on in the lap actually than that. This is turn 4 and 5, so I think he may have been into turn 1 actually, but they're about to be passed by the overall leaders. There's Adam Brockway. There's the battle we were just talking about, making their way towards turn 7. So this is quite a predicament now for Brockway, who's going to get caught up behind them on the run down the hill at turn 8.
Yeah, this is not a thing you want to deal with. 3 cars in one place. Passing 1 car is one thing. You can only get held up so much by 1 car. But when you have to pass a pack of battling cars, you get very, very held up. And you can see just 2 tenths lost already in 1 corner. Gets by John Duong. He's got to slot in behind Conor Wagner through one of the fastest corners in the track. It's going to lose him even more time. And with that 1 single corner, suddenly Alec Bergstrom is back within drafting range of his teammate.
He is. Oh, it's late on the brakes for Deering. Through goes Bergstrom. Does he just about? I think makes it through there on that occasion. 1.2 seconds is the gap. Yeah, he's been balked a little bit by it, but not too much. He did make his way through. Out of the left-hander they go towards the back straight. Bergstrom 1.2 seconds behind. Let's not forget, if they're fighting for the win, then it's whoever wins will take second in the championship, effectively, given how close they are. Now out of the final corner, this is a replay of Nathan Deary making his move on Wagner. Just gets the better run here, really, and it'll be later on the brakes and towards turn 1, you'd imagine. Oh.
Yeah, pretty straightforward there in the draft, into turn 1, later on the brakes. Easy stuff. Shockingly easy stuff. It's never easy to get by Connor Wagner, but he's done so. There goes Adam Brockway past the overall leader in GT4, Justin Ream. The overall leaders meet each other on track for the first time.
Well, I wonder if I don't know about you, but I thought that looked a little bit strange there from Wagner. He looked really slow on the start-finish line, on the start-finish straight there, and almost as if he missed a gear, which is obviously not possible in these cars. Oh, that's Joshua Chinsky off the road, down at turn 1. Well, I'm sure he will have gotten some help there, but Ozzy Milwain has gained from it, and he was battling with Mark Kalin as well, and Joey Haynes. It was very congested, and Chinsky has come out the wrong side of that.
Oh, this was calamity corner all time along, and he didn't actually get any help. He lost it on his own, and right behind him, Mark Kalin and Joey Haynes actually got into each other into turn 1. So it was a double feature of issues in LMP3, hitting people and also spinning on your own, which is very easy to do at turn 1. It's a very high-speed corner, and these LMP3s do tend to be fairly skittish at times.
I think that was actually Milwain getting through on Kalin there for 5th place, but they're on the same team, aren't they? Milwain and Haynes. I'm sure that Haynes will be looking to do the same for 6th place very shortly as they go down towards the chicane now to these GT4s. This is the fight for 4th place. Nathan Deering, Connor Wagner and John Duong in the purple Cayman just behind. There's the fight. Just around 6 seconds behind Justin Rame at this stage. Did I hear a bit of contact there on the circuit? Not entirely sure. I think I just heard someone smack the wall, but maybe I was hearing things. Connor Wagner gets close on the way in towards the final corner. We'll look to replicate the move that Deering made on him a couple of laps ago.
See if you can do it the other way around. Up the hill, Wagner on the inside. He's got a great run here, but the door's going to get shut by Deering. It's a bad exit from Deering. That's because he's coming down pit lane for the first time. Not quite to halfway, but there could be a strategy move here for Nathan Deering. If it's not a drive-through this early, we'll have to wait and see once he gets to his pit stall. It's going to be a long run because he was the pole sitter, and he is pulling in. That means it's not a drive-through. It is a pit stop. It's early, but it is scheduled.
And Ozzy Milwain's doing the same as well. That's not him. That was a toe, was it? Well, there's been an incident for Ozzy Milwain out on the circuit by the looks of things, and he may well be out of the final LMP3-GT4 race of the season. He's diving down the inside here of a couple of GT4s, just spins it around, and I think says enough is enough. He's had a terrible time. Clearly, I think we can read into that he's just not enjoying this circuit very much at all.
That might have been his 13th incident point, actually. That may be why that happened.
Possibly. I suppose that would have been another 3, maybe, for a loss of control and an off-track there.
There were 4 for contact with Joey Haynes. There were probably a couple more off-tracks. We saw one where he threw it off the road, so it's not been the most fun day for Ozzy, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you might be right. As Wayne Castile is still under pressure from Pat Pelchite here for 3rd place. Not too much of a gap up to Alec Bergstrom now, who's continuing to lose time, and possibly that 2nd place in the driver's standings as a result of this race result. Coming up to halfway in this one now. Adam Brockway still leading the way. 3 seconds is now the gap. He had a bit of bad luck in traffic at certain points throughout that first run, but by the end of it, he had extended his gap to a bigger one than he had previously.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Lap traffic giveth, lap traffic taketh away. All those quotes we've said all season long. The next time they reach traffic, it all change again. And Wayne Castile, who rides in 3rd, we've seen him come back from so many things this season. He's not out of the conversation for the win. And he's definitely not out of the conversation for a higher spot in the podium, at the very least, if something goes wrong for Bergstrom. Because he's driven up from deeper in the field, got by Pelshaw, got by Haynes and Milwain, and now he's got clean air ahead of him. He's got clean track. He's learning this track. I think he bought it today, and he's only getting faster.
Certainly is. Out through this very long left-hander at turn 10. Almost flat out in these LMP2s, really. Then they make... Oh, dear. One of the GT4s off to the right-hand side there. One of the Porsches. It was. Not Jared Deploy, is it? No. That's him, I think. So, not sure who that is, making their way...
I think it is Jared. I think it was...
Is it?
I think he's gotten into another little bit of trouble as well. It's not been a fun day at Aragon for Jared Deploy. I don't know who's Seabach. Who's Jeffrey Seabach? Same painted cars. That's that's not helpful for commentators. You got to differentiate the cars a little bit. We see very few colors, but here is Jeffrey Seabach up over the top of the hill, off the road. I don't think he was the one who crashed actually, because that's a different colored car. Seabach's in the blue and green. I think that was Jared Deploy actually down the back straight.
No, that is Seabach, isn't it? In the blue and in the blue.
Well, that's
and white
Seabach
there.
on the screen right now, but the car we saw slow was black and red and white.
That's who we saw. On the onboard, that's who we saw anyway. Seabach, and then we cut to Jared Deploy on the back straight, who does have damage actually, which I don't think he was going slowly. I think it's just the camera angle and the fact he had damage as well on the car. But yeah, running through the grass was definitely Jeffrey Seabach. Not sure why. I think he was having a technical, possibly. But anyway, he's dropping back to 16th as it goes. Mark Kalin is in the top 5 right now, ahead of Joey Haynes. I don't think he would have thought at the start of the day that he'd be ahead of both of all Simsport drivers, but he is right now, and nearly half a minute off the lead, but he won't care. He's holding on to a top 5 in this race, which is a very good result.
And you don't normally think of Mark Kalin as a driver who makes up positions from other people's mistakes. Normally it's the other way around, but he's done a great job of staying clean so far. And he's ahead of one of the strongest road course drivers in the PRL, and Joey Haynes, with experience in every type of road course racing, whether it's open wheel, Formula 3, whether it's prototypes, whether it's GT3. Joey's done it all. Kalen's done it all as well. He's a strong road course driver in his own right. And in these prototypes, a top 5 would be great for him as he looks to, I believe, drive the LMP2s next season.
Yeah, we'll see how many of the LMP3 drivers kind of move up to the GTP and LMP2 series that we're going to have at this time on a Monday night in the PRL. Hopefully will be an enjoyable one as well. Bit of a slide for Kalen there, really working that car nicely. Normally prototypes don't like you doing that, but this LMP3 sort of is the best of both worlds in terms of aerodynamic downforce and being able to slide your way around from time to time. Into the final corner goes Kalen now. You can see the alternative hairpin that you can use. Oh, he slides a bit too much through here on that occasion, and I think he's going to pit lane. He is indeed. So not the first LMP3 driver in pit lane. Of course, we've seen Ozzy Milwain already in, but he's out of the race. This is the first scheduled pit stop just over the halfway mark in this race.
Yeah, we do have to start thinking about that soon, and we have to think about that in GT4 as well. Justin Ream's kind of taking control of this race. He's running away in the lead, but Turner Schroll and Miguel Ruiz only 2 and 3 seconds back. They have every possibility to get up there and maybe get by him if things go their way in traffic, or if things go their way strategy-wise, and they're going to have to start thinking about that soon, because the fuel tanks are starting to run dry in these GT4 cars. This is lap number 11 for these guys. They're going to come in the next 5 minutes at the absolute longest.
It's not going to be long. Certainly not 5 minutes of the season in the LMP3-GT4 challenge for the PRL. Turn 4 and into 5. Difficult braking zones as you're turning on the way in Austin. Then you've got to make your way through towards 6, 7, 2 high ground and hit. Difficult to make your way through at this stage for Miguel Ruiz, really. But he's so close. He may need a bit of intervention from traffic and might well get his wish here in a couple of moments' time, because there's going to be no diving towards turn 8 on him, but there will be a dive on the both of them, maybe at turn 10. Now, will it affect them both, or neither of them, or only one? Well, unfortunately for Ruiz, the LMP3 really hurt Ruiz a bit more than he hurt Stroll, although at least in the early part. Stroll forced a bit wide on the exit there, through turn 11. And in towards 12, there's going to be no change here. There may well be a waiting game now until the pit stops.
And he did well to recover that. That one incident point for going off track isn't going to help Turner Schroll very much, but it could have been far, far worse there. They got one lap car up ahead. Jared Deploy Hopefully he'll stay out of the way. I imagine he will. He's going to pull off to the left here and make sure he doesn't get into the way. Respectful driving from Jared. He's had a tough day today, but he's just making sure he doesn't get in people's way. There goes Turner by. There goes Ruiz by. All safe. And they've only lost time to Justin Ream, though. The gap is 4 seconds now to Justin.
It is a growing gap as well. Very tight line there for Stroll. Are either of them coming in? They're both in. Well, I think Ruiz was trying to go in and get the undercut on Stroll maybe, but they're all coming in here in GT4. This may well be the time. I think the GT4s are coming to the end of their fuel limit here in this race. They both pull in, Ruiz and Stroll. Who's got the shorter stop? Have either of them nailed this just a little bit better than the other? Ream will, of course, get away first in the Cayman. You can see first in the queue. But they're all in, aren't they? They're all in at once. There goes Ream, 16.4. Stroll's got a bit of a longer stop than that, but
he's able to save a ton of fuel from the lead of the race, which is the perfect position. You're out front by 4 seconds, you're still saving fuel, you're still getting a shorter stop than anybody else. Justin Ream, absolutely phenomenal job here. 4 seconds still over Stroll. If he can stay out of trouble, if he can stay out of LMP3s getting into him, he's basically got his 7th win of the season locked up here, and that'll be another great season for the winningest driver in GT4 history. But Connor Wagner all over Miguel Ruiz. They've all kind of met in the middle here. Ruiz, Wagner, and Deering out of the pits, and they've got some traffic behind them. I believe that's Wayne Castile, the championship leader at LMP3, having all sorts of trouble getting through the GT4 chicanes. He gets through. Pat Pelshaw's going to have a little bit more trouble, though, around the outside of Ruiz and around the outside of Wagner. He's off the road. Down the hill comes Pat Pelshaw, just trying to get back in line here. LMP3 and GT4 have been so difficult to navigate so far this season because it's impossible to get into a rhythm once you're in the traffic. Every lap is different. That's the beauty of multi-class racing. The lap changes. The track changes with every lap because there's moving cars on it that you can't predict. That's why we love it. And that is why every single driver this season has to put a very, very brave face on. And they should all get a reward because they've all survived for 10 weeks. It's been phenomenal so far.
It has. It's been relatively clean as well, especially in the latter weeks where drivers have been learning the interaction between the LMP3 and GT4 cars. It's been very clean racing as well. Miguel Ruiz is under a lot of pressure now, though, from Connor Wagner, who wants one more podium to end out this season. He's had quite a few already. Wants another one, though. Down the inside he goes into the final turn. Does the man second place in this championship. He does take the place. Into third, Miguel Ruiz's slightly longer stop is starting to hurt him a little bit because Wagner is down the inside and through as well. It's been 2 podiums in the last 3 weeks for Wagner, and looking for another one now. He'll have to defend it towards turn 1 though. Ruiz is on the outside, can't do it there, and now Nathan Deering will get involved as well.
Deering in the black car, Ruiz in the white and orange car. They're going to have to slot back in line. Deering not able to hold it around the outside. But Connor Wagner at the head of this group. You talk about a guy who was dominant back when he was in the Formula 3 series in the PRL. I believe his first season in the PRL that he ever ran many, many seasons ago. If I remember correctly, it was 8 out of 10 wins for him. He's had his own fair share of dominant seasons, and the fact that Justin Ream has had such a number on him this season tells you how good Justin Ream is at GT4 driving. It tells you how good Connor Wagner is as well. The fact that he's been within touching distance of him all season. It's been ridiculous, the talent level at the top of this series.
It has. Connor Wagner is third then, ahead of Miguel Ruiz, then Nathan Deering, who of course qualified on pole in this race, but hasn't been able to convert that into anything like a race win, unfortunately for him. Could still get a podium, but even that is becoming a little bit of a longer shot at 12 minutes to go. Gets very close on the way down towards turn 12 there, does Deering. He'll close on Ruiz, and now there's a fight for third in LMP3. Pep Pelchat is down the inside of Wayne Castile. He's weaving around all over the place. Castile on the outside is already been crowned champion so far today, and so doesn't need to fight Pelchat at all. He would like to round off the season with a podium, of course, but he has been overtaken. Now the pit stops will commence in LMP3.
Alec Bergstrom in before his teammate Adam Brockway. Wayne Castile in as well, just as the team's head honcho, Daniel Morad, tunes in on YouTube. His cars are prepared to get their one stop of the day out of the way. Brockway, though, going one lap longer, was probably able to save a little bit of fuel and has taken the risk of going that one lap longer, hoping he doesn't get undercut by Bergstrom. There's rarely tire changes in this series because the races aren't really long enough. The tires don't wear that much, but if Brockway does run into traffic, he could lose out to Bergstrom, could lose out to Castile.
We'll see how it pans out over the course of these stops. Quite surprised, actually, the LMP3s have been able to go quite so far compared to the GT4s, but anyway, they have done. It allows the GT4s to get their heads down for the end of the race now and fight for what's in front of them, as Deering is doing here. But the LMP3s still have a bit more to think about. That was quite wide on the way towards turn 5 for Deering. One of the LMP3s getting involved now. Deering not enjoying this, but he'll have to realise the give and take is just happening at the moment. Ruiz will be overtaken as well, and Wagner maybe too. Oh, that was close on the way in towards the 8 and 9. I think that was the race leader, wasn't it? Or was it...
No, that's Bergstrom. That's Bergstrom, so he has gotten absolutely screwed here, unfortunately. Came in early to try and go for the undercut, but it's not worked out. Big time held up by Connor Wagner. Wayne Castile's getting held up as well. This is a gift to Adam Brockway. He is going to have even more of a gap than he did before he came into the pits as he comes down pit road now, or down pit lane now.
Adam Brockway should hold on to the lead, you would imagine, especially based on what we just saw there. Conor Wagner still in front of Miguel Ruiz as well, but this is a tenuous margin. There's the leader, by the way, in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Pitting in now. Bergstrom's actually not even that far in front of Wayne Castile at the moment, who's clearly had a shorter stop, and you'd imagine will be in front of Pat Pelchat unless the 919 driver can get ahead of the both of them for second place. That would be a bit of a long shot, you would imagine, though. There's our champion in waiting. Round the final corner, all behind Adam Brockway. They'll both overtake Pat Pelchat here, you'd imagine. Pat gets going again, but not quickly enough. So Bergstrom holds on to second. Castile definitely third, although a little bit wide through turn 1 on that occasion.
It's going to be another incident point for Wayne Castile. I mentioned he bought this track today. He had no laps of this track in this car, or in any car for that matter, until earlier today. So he's still learning with every lap, Mr. Castile, and he's going to pass Justin Ream here, his fellow champion-elect, as he continues to learn. A podium at a track you'd never driven at before today is still a pretty good accomplishment. He's going to want the win. He's never happy with third, but he's got to be happy with this after so little practice.
I would say so. I think it shows, doesn't it, that the fact that he's got little experience around this circuit, because he's been so dominant throughout this season, throughout the most of it. Anyway, 6 wins over the course of this so far. Only out the top 5 on 3 occasions, out of 9 as well. It's been a very consistent season from him, far more consistent than all of those around him. And this is the only one real day where he's not shown absolutely searing pace, but that can be understood with what you just mentioned there. The fact that he hasn't had this circuit for very long at all. He makes his way onto the back straight now, and you'd imagine he'll have enough to just stay in front of Pat Pelchat for the remaining 8 minutes of this race.
You want to know something scary for next season, Ewan? Wayne Castile's coming back to this series. Adam Brockway's coming back to this series. Alec Bergstrom is coming back to this series. All 3 of the drivers who are still in this series, who have won races this season, they're all going to be back next season. The reign of terror for the Moradness M Squad Purple is going to continue, but Wayne Castile has got a drive-through. He has racked up too many incident points. He's still going to be the champion-elect. He's completed more than 50% of the laps, but he's out of the top 5. He's hit the 13 incident point limit, and he's got to serve a drive-through.
Well, I know he's more competitive than me, but if this was me, I'd be pulling into the garage for a drink. To be honest, it's champion time for Wayne Castile, but unfortunately, it's going to serve a drive-through penalty. The first one that we've seen for incident points is Jeffrey Seabock. It's stopped on the exit of pit lane there. Don't know what that's all about, but Castile there had to avoid him, and Seabock has. I hope he hasn't forgotten to put fuel in, because he's driving slowly again now out on the circuit. And
maybe he was getting a drink, like you suggested.
Sorry? Oh, maybe.
Maybe he was out there getting a drink.
Yes. It's not been the day for Seabuck, unfortunately. But yeah, I understand that these guys are a little bit more competitive than maybe me at this point. Castile remains 4th then. Haynes will close in that battle, but it won't matter too much as we go back to GT4. William Brennan and Matt Brewer, they're a long way back on Justin Rehm, and this is the kind of region where Rehm would have to end up if he were to lose the title today, which is becoming increasingly unlikely with 6 minutes remaining.
Good to see two more of the Hyperion drivers. They've got a big web of drivers in this series, from the front to the end of the top 10. They're having they've had some great runs all season, and it's yet another one with Turner Schroll in second right now, and former Supreme Court Justice William Brennan battling with Matt Brewer for P8. Every point's going to matter. I believe these guys are pretty close in the championship. I've got to study the point standings to see where William Brennan actually is. I believe he's P4 right now, behind Miguel, or he's ahead of Miguel Ruiz by 5 points. So he needs to stay ahead of Matt Brewer here to make sure he stays ahead of Miguel Ruiz in the championship.
Important positions to fight over further down in GT4 then. While the titles seem to be settled, other positions are being changed as we speak. Adam Brockway is taking second place from Alec Bergstrom as things stand. There goes Mark Kalin off the road. That's 8th place for him, and even more 8th place now because he goes for a spin. He was looking to overtake Mario Barrios today in the standings, and looks like he might do and move up to 7th at least, but he's not going to overtake Joey Haynes and Joshua Chinsky, which he had a chance of doing at the start of the day.
And this is the last race of Mark Kalin's season. The PRL NASCAR Xfinity Series came to a close last week because they had a 4th of July break, or they didn't have the 4th of July break, rather, and they finished 1 week earlier than this series in the GT3 Series. So Mark gets one more PRL race to end his season. I don't know what he's doing into Turn 1, though, because he appears to be slower than the Hyperion traffic into Turn 1, but I think he's got things resolved now.
There he is as well, in car on the on the right hand side. Just having a look at. I think he's actually got a different wheel, hasn't he? A wheel rim at least from what he uses in the NASCAR racing that he often does. Regular in the Cup Series, of course, and Xfinity Series as well. Of course. By the way, you mentioned that season finale was last week for the Xfinity Series. We do have one more season finale here this week, coming up in both of the GT3 Series, Joey, which you'll be on, of course, and I'll be racing in. I'm not involved in the title fight, you'll be glad to know. But I'm sure you could have worked that out yourselves. But yeah, one more season finale, and it should be a good one tomorrow night as well.
It should be, and I'm glad to hear, Ewan, that you said you're going to qualify. Your initials might be EOL, but that doesn't mean you had to take it literally, so I hope to see you qualify tomorrow. Very
clever. Well done. Well, you say that. You don't know that I won't qualify last, but I take your point. We go back to Alec Bergstrom in second place for the moment. He's actually been caught by Pat Pochat, which I didn't see happening, but it has done. Pochat is getting quite quick towards the end of this one. Should be 2 laps to go at the end of the lap as well, so Bergstrom's going to have a lot to think about over the last couple of laps.
And he's got to think about the championship right now, because as things stand, Adam Brockway will pass him for P2 in the Drivers' Championship. Now, does that really matter to Alec Bergstrom right now? Wayne Castile's got the championship wrapped up anyway. Does second place matter that much, or third place? It does in a way. You don't want to be the third of your 3 teammates. You do want to at least be second if you can't be with Wayne Castile. But right now, unfortunately, there's not much he can do. Brockway had the pole, has the fastest lap, is winning the race, and it looks like Adam Brockway will be the second place driver in this championship. But Bergstrom would still like to hang on to second in this race. Pat Pochat, though, would like even more to take second place here, because he has had some bad luck this season, had some very bad luck at VIR last week with a spinning GT4 car, and second place would be a great way to tail end his season.
Yeah, I think it is worth reiterating that the top 3 in the championship are all more in the Semscott Purple drivers, so obviously that you can draw your own conclusions as to what that's meant for the team's championship, of course, but yeah, you don't want to be the third of your 3 teammates. After all, you are practicing together, you're driving with the same equipment, you're on the same team. They're all strong drivers, of course, Brockway, Bergstrom and Castile, but you don't want to finish the third of them, even if that does mean third in the championship. But to be honest, I don't think Bergstrom's got much choice. 13 seconds of a lead for Adam Brockway. He's been quite dominant today.
He has been, and it's good to see for Adam Brockway, because so often this season he was the third of his 3 teammates. Castile has absolutely dominated the opening stages of the season, but then there was a Road America race. Brockway put it on pole, looked to be the fastest of the 3, Threw it off the road, though. Let his teammate Wayne Castile get through. And then the next week rolled around. Brockway was still the fastest of the three, and he had one of the greatest redemption stories of the season, winning 1 week after Road America at Willow Springs, of all places. One of the craziest races of the year. And this has been an even more dominant race for him so far. It's going to be one more lap at the line, and he is going to take this on the chin into next season as proof that he can beat his teammates. He could be the champion next season.
He could well be. With the three of them returning, it's going to be, you get long odds for anybody else appearing inside the top three in the championship, or indeed in many races as well, because they've been so strong over the course of the season. On board with Adam Brockway as he crosses the line for the penultimate time. One more lap here at Motorland Aragon before a famous race win for Adam Brockway. Is only his second of the season. His first coming quite a long time, quite a long time ago, a couple of weeks ago indeed, at Willow Springs, as you say. So it's been a good end to the season for Adam Brockway, with 4 podiums in a row now as well, if he were to be able to hold on to this. 12 seconds is his margin. It's almost a lap of honour for this point. He's just been cruising home for the last few moments.
And Adam Brockway is kind of a jack of all trades in terms of racing in the PRL. He's got a win in GT4, he's got a win in GT3, he's got a win in LMP3. This will actually be the first time, if he can make it to the line, that he's ever won more than one race in a season. It'll be the first time ever that he's won more than one race in any type of car. This has been the best season of Adam Brockway's PRL career. But the battle for P2 is not over behind him with his teammate Pat Pelshot. Pat's got one more chance and he's going to get to the inside.
Great line through 8 and 9 from Pat Pelchat, who gets to the inside at 10. Side by side for them as Bergstrom has to run wide through the corner. Oh, there's very nearly contact.
Oh.
It's weaving around. Pat Pelchat blocking, defending, weaving. And now Bergstrom gets to the inside. He gets it all wrong. Oh dear. They're both off the road. Bergstrom has to fall backwards and Pat Pelchat will go through. Well, that was all very awkward on the way in towards turn 12 for the very final time. Meanwhile, for Adam Brockway up front, there are no such troubles. Here is the final corner for him. It's going to be a famous win for Adam Brockway, who takes his second of the season. 4 podiums in a row. He ends the season on a high note with second place in the championship as well. He wins at Aragon ahead of Pat Pelchat and Alec Bergstrom, whose battle goes right to the line. Pelchat in the end is going to be runner-up on the day, and what an overtake, what a battle that was on the last lap.
Now, do either of these guys get penalties? I believe Alec Bergstrom did hit the 13 incident point limit with that contact, but did Pelshot do the same? We've got to wait for Mark Kalin to cross the line, the last driver on the lead lap, then penalties will go into effect. It's a very tentative podium right now. Wayne Castile and Joey Haynes could still be on the podium against all odds.
Well, let's see. That would be quite a long shot, but let's see if it happens. Justin Rehm has had quite a lot to do today in terms of sealing the GT4 Championship. In the GR86 series and the LMP3 Championship, it was just a case of completing 50% of the race. But for Justin Rehm, he's needed a top 10 finish without any bonus points going his way. However, he's done more than that. He's won all over again. He's won the most races in PRO history in this car. In each of the last 4 seasons, he's taken at least 2 race victories over the course of a year. This season will be his best to date, with 7 wins in one season, another at the finale at Aragon. Justin Rehm takes the win and takes the GT4 Championship ahead of Conor Wagner, who will chase Turner Stroll for second place right to the line. It won't quite happen for him. He will miss out on the title once again. Another close call for him in the PRL. It's Justin Rehm with his most successful season to date, and another championship, this time in the GT4 Championship.
And I do have to give a great shout out to Turner Stroll here, finishing ahead of Conor Wagner. Remember that F3 season I told you about when Wagner won 8 out of 10 races and won the championship? He was in the pro class. Turner Stroll was in the AM class, and now that they find themselves in the same category, Turner Stroll beats Conor Wagner. He is going to be very, very happy with that, and I believe everybody's crossed the line now, so I'm looking at the results, and they do stay the same. No drive-through for Bergstrom, no drive-through for Pelchat. They get to keep their podiums.
They do. It is all in arrears to Adam Brockway, though, of course, who wins the race. Pelchat and Alec Bergstrom will join him on the podium. Wayne Castillo is crowned champion from 4th place, with Joey Haynes rounding out the top 5. Justin Watinsky is the farm driver within a minute, with Bradley Holly and Mark Kalin the other drivers to complete the race. Ozzy Milwain 14 laps down after retiring in the first half. In GT4, it's Justin Rehm who takes the win in the Porsche, just 10 seconds ahead of Turner Schroll and Conor Wagner. Miguel Ruiz and John Duong were not too far away either in 4th and 5th. Nicholas Schwartz finished 6th ahead of William Brennan. Aaron Create, Matt Brewer and Nicholas Johnson round out the top 10. It's Will Jennings in 11th ahead of Jared Deplu, a few laps down for the first of the BMWs, Douglas Curry. Nathan Deering went from pole to 14th, unfortunately, with Carl Bishop and Austin Wilkins both 7 laps down as well. Jeffrey Seamock finished 8 laps down after having lots of problems, and Floyd Kerr finishing 18th after failing to finish in that race. Well, that is it for the LMP3 and GT4 challenge. Let's bring in Adam Brockway, your race winner, from that one to have a chat after the race. Adam, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Race win here at Aragon tonight. I was about to say you seem to be enjoying it, but I've not heard anyone say they've actually enjoyed driving this circuit just yet. Was it just a case of you clicked with this circuit and you got it right, or have you enjoyed your evening driving around here?
I'd say I enjoy it because I got a win. New track. I did some officials this week and did very well there. So new pace was there. Alec was quick. Wayne unfortunately didn't put that much practice in, as you can see. But I figured, as long as I just keep pushing and stay ahead of Alec, I could have taken the win.
I mean, it's, of course, another great day for the team. You finished 1, 2, 3 in the championship as well. Just tell us about your thoughts on the season as a whole. A season in which, of course, you've taken 2 race wins, you've been part of the winning team, and you finished 2nd in the championship as well.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't ask for anything much better than that as a team, 1, 2, 3 in the individual championships, and a team championship is... it was good. I had some issues in a lot of races this season, which really set me back and unfortunately kept me too far away from Wayne to put up a fight for the championship. But, team championship and 1, 2, 3, good season.
Certainly is. Adam, congratulations on the race win here tonight. And then and 2nd place in the championship as well. Thanks for joining us as well for a chat after the race. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks very much, Adam Brockway, their winner tonight at Aragon. We'll also welcome in Wayne Castillo, who is crowned champion, of course, and he's standing by with Joey now.
Indeed, he is. Wayne Castillo. Maybe not your best race of the season, unfortunately, but it doesn't matter. You are the PRL LMP3 champion for 2023 Season 3. How good does that feel?
Well, after that horrible race for me, that good news does make it slightly better. I feel like I did pretty good for only buying the track 3 hours ago, though. So I really can't complain.
That's insane. We saw that in the PRL Discord server earlier today. You bought the track about 3 hours ago. Didn't really get any practice in.
No, I just went into it.
I just
went into it. Pretty much cold turkey. I heard it was very tough on the off tracks and just a very technical track. So I thought, let's try it without any practice. Only because I knew we didn't have I had the championship pretty much locked up. So I figured, let's just see what happens here. But realistically, it was a great season. Everybody raced super great, super predictable. Got a shout out to my teammates Adam and Alec for an awesome season, going 1, 2, and 3. So, we can't be any more happy with how it turned out. And I believe all 3 of us will be back for next season.
I did see that signing up there. You've got the championship here. You did something that very few drivers in the PRL have done, winning more than 50% of the races in a season. How are you looking forward to next season? And you think you can make it 2 for 2 in terms of PRL championships?
That's the goal. Hopefully I can do it again next season. And if I do, then I will leave these guys alone and I will find another PRL series to jump into. And hopefully we can keep that train going, and hopefully we bring a lot of championships back to the M squad.
Well, you certainly made it, Wayne, this season. Congrats on the championship, and we'll see you next season.
Absolutely. Hey, last time I got to shout him out this season. Thank you so much to Daniel Morad at Muradness, Stu, Dion, and of course our sponsors, Oceana Coffee, Ginger Liveries, Advanced Sim Racing, and shout out once again to my teammates Adam and Alec. Great season, guys. We'll talk to you guys next season.
And I did just realize your initials are WC. Of course you're the world champion.
Amen to that.
Wayne
Thanks, buddy.
Castile, victorious in the championship. We'll see him next season. But victorious in the GT4 championship was Justin Ream, and you and O'Leary's got him.
Justin, welcome in. Good to have you with us here this evening. Another race win for you this season, in a season that has seen your most race wins of any in the PRL. You did have a lot to do tonight, of course, in terms of staying in front of Wagner in the championship, and the best way, of course, was to do that was to take the race win, and you did that all at the very start. It was quite a bizarre start, though, a strange one. Just tell us about that opening lap and that run down towards turn 1 that saw you take the lead that you would take to the line.
Yeah, the start was a little interesting. I've seen Austin kind of get a good jump since he had the inside line at the start. Unfortunately, he kind of got loose on the curb and slid off and spun out. I had to take the off track to avoid, and then I think I just had a little bit better run on Nathan coming out of that corner. So from there, it was just trying to not get off tracks and get myself DQ'd, which I managed not to do. So that's a win for me.
Just what a constraint was that on you over the course of the day? Because it is one of those circuits that has tarmac everywhere, and not so much the natural track limits enforcement that you get from grass and gravel and all that kind of thing. How much was that factoring into your mind over the course of the day?
I was factoring in like pretty much every lap. I was kind of stressed out about it because practice was a little iffy. I was getting way more off tracks than clean laps. But yeah, I was just kind of taking it, being cautious and lifting on the exit of some of the corners just to make sure I didn't get the off tracks. And yeah, that was my main concern, was the off tracks for this track today. It's kind of got a similar feel to like Red Bull Ring. So.
Well, you navigated that and everything else, of course. Justin, congratulations on your 7th win of the season and the title, of course. And thanks so much for coming to chat to us as well.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks very much, Justin Rim, with the GT4 Championship crowned today at Motorland Aragon. Just one last interview. Pat Pochat is standing by with Joey Tebben now.
Indeed he is. You put in a performance like that, finish second, you got to talk to the guy. But it's only been a part-time season for you this season, Pat. But 4th in round 1, 2nd at the end of the season. Are we going to see you back next season for a more consistent run and maybe fight for the championship?
Oh yeah, next season we're going for the championship. So yeah, I had a pretty busy summer off the racetrack, and yeah, I did what I could, but came back for the last 2 rounds and really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, certainly. It seemed like quite the battle today as we look into next season. I don't believe we have the official schedule out yet, but how have you been feeling the LMP3 in its first season of release, and are you comfortable that you can be one of those championship contenders?
We'll do our best. I feel like there's some area I need to improve on braking especially, and just trying to get the full feeling of the car, but I'll work on that in the next few weeks and trying to be ready for the next season and go for that championship.
Well, Pat, congrats on a podium to finish it off. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time for Season 4.
Yeah, thank you.
Pat Pelshaw coming home in second after a titanic battle at the end, if you remember, with Alec Bergstrom on the final lap. Hopefully more of those fireworks next season. We've got to wait a couple of weeks for more LMP3-GT4 action and some more additional prototype action, but there's still one more championship finale to go in the PRL, Ewan.
There certainly is. Tomorrow night, the GT3 season finale here on RaceSpotTV, 8:30 ET. Tomorrow, it will be Joey alongside our junior, I believe, tomorrow night once again as we go to Phillip Island for the final round of the season. The fixed series first for 35 minutes and then the open series for 40. Title on the line, of course, as well. It's not settled there. So make sure you tune in once again for another night of racing here in the PRL on RaceSpotTV. A big thank you to everyone who's been tuned in tonight, though. It's been a pleasure to have you along for this one as we bidded farewell to the GR86 series and crowned a new champion. A 100% record for Alexis Moisan with 10 out of 10 in that series and in LMP3 and GT4. It's Wayne Castile and Justin Rim crowned your champions here tonight at Aragon. We will bid our farewells though now on RaceSpotTV. A big thank you for watching. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Joey Tebben. Justin Honest has been behind the cameras. And until next season with the LMP3s and GT4s, and until tomorrow night in the GT3s, it's goodbye for now.